父がいるウルトラの母がいるそして太郎がここにいる空を見ろ星を見ろ宇宙を見ろ彼方から迫り来る赤い色
Hello, you are listening to Ultra Q, episode 87. My name is Red. I am joined by Mel.
I put the coffee maker in an Adidas bag and patted out with 4 pounds of mochi. Not my style at all, but that's what I was aiming for. If they think you're aggressive tight, go scientist tight. If they think you're scientist tight, go aggressive tight. I'm very scientist tight, girl. So I decided to get as aggressive tight as possible. These days, though, you have to be pretty scientist tight before you can even aspire to be aggressive tight.
Thank you. I wonder what book we'll be talking about today. Brad?
Listen, I've been warning y'all for years now. Alien terrorist is here to ruin Christmas. Nobody listens to me. The worst has come true.
Oh, not the alien terrorist. Coming up, Christmas Miracles, Forgotten Moon Lore, and 35 kaiju in one episode. How will Tsuburaya accomplish that? I wonder if they will cheat.
Yeah.
Before we get to any of that, we got our usual shit. I have done several things that I don't care about any of them. There's only one thing I care about is I finished the Burning Chrome collection.
I'm not done yet.
I'm also not done yet. In fact,
Okay.
I'm only like 3 stories in.
I'm caught up for this week's Shaba Genre, which I listened to, and then I'll.
Oh wait, how many of the stories did they do?
There's
First 5.
6.
Oh,
There's
6. Sorry.
And then they'll finish the next in a couple weeks. So I'm gonna pick away the last 4.
Okay, I will save this this tier list I have.
Yeah, I still need to work on mine.
Yeah, do we want to put off Burning Chrome talk until next week then?
Yes.
I can complete it at that time.
I will hold that off. I guess I can mention I finished my like a couple of weeks ago I finished my Crusader Kings 2 game.
Nice.
I united Ireland and then the British Isles under the rule of Ireland, and then Brittany and Aquitaine, and then I gave Aquitaine away at some point, and took over France, and then I took Aquitaine back, and then the King of France took vast swathes of Spain, of like Spanish land, and also like, what is it, Lotharingia?
Lotharingia.
That's the one, Lotharingia. And I was like, okay, I revoked his title as king immediately. And,
I'm surprised you didn't have to fight a war just to do that.
I did. I won. And I fucked him up. And so I created a Yazidi empire, in like the northwest of Europe.
Recreated like the Antiquity Gallic Empire breakaway.
Yeah, true. I did do that. But this time,
except Yazidi Irish.
Yazidi Irish, to balance out the Catholic Arabian Empire happening in the southeast of the map.
You didn't even intentionally become Yazidi; it just happened to you.
No, it was accident. It was like the Christmas sale came round and I spotted some. I was having a good time with Crusader Kings 2, but I did feel that there are feature. This game could have more features in it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to, more than the starter pack at least, and I was like, I'm going to grab a couple more of these expansions. and I think one of those expansions, secret cults snuck into my game, and I was not aware that was a thing that like a lot of people like to turn off in the menu because of how fucked it is sometimes. And so I wound up with my heir to the Empire was like a member of the Yazidi cult, and then it went public, and there was no going back. And so I was just like, okay, well, I'm
Guess
now
we're doing
playing...
Yazidi now.
I'm doing Yazidi. Here's the thing: I don't now want to go into my Reconquista game because I've now finished off my game playing with like the Ikta mechanics.
Yeah.
Because
you already played as a quote-unquote Muslim on the game's log.
Quote-unquote. Heavy quote-unquote. Because the game treats Yazidism like it's a Muslim cult. A sunny heresy. That's the one. So in the meantime, I'm just like, I don't know what I want to... But I need something to do with my time when I'm like listening to podcasts, or like I'm listening through podcasts to edit them sometimes. And I was just like, maybe I should start up a casual like game, like maybe like a lower stakes one, like I'm an Earl or something instead. I don't know. And then I installed the original Anno instead. Sorry. The video game series Anno is unfortunately a victim of the fact that as a mech anime fan, I have trained myself to say Anno instead.
Me seeing the character in Gun 00 Anno Domini. Oh no.
Oh no. So I've been playing a little bit of the original Anno. That's a colonialism game.
Yeah.
Wish they had the resource stockpiles on screen at all times, but that's how it goes. And they also played a short game of King of Dragon Pass. The 10 years version where you form a tribe and you have to rule for 10 years and do a couple of things. And I did that. That was good. That's a good game. I'll play a long game at some point. I've also been, I've just been doing shit. I'm not necessarily getting into it, but I've been looking for shit to play while I listen to stuff, and unfortunately some of them are some things are just too involved.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. Do you ever think you'd be the type of sicko that imports your save across Paradox games?
No. It feels, first of all, here's the thing. They're making Europa Universalis 5 right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is what they're doing. So I want to get in on the ground floor and see what that's like. It might be quite bare bones and buggy, but it'll be an experience.
That's the Paradox promise at launch.
I was about to say, you'll get the Paradox launch experience.
Yeah, that
everyone's gonna hate that game, and then a year later it'll be like, but maybe? And then a year plus, everyone's gonna be like, how the fuck did we play the old one? This is amazing.
Yeah.
And then more expansions will come out, and they'll be mad about that.
Yeah, I think Victoria 3 and Crusader Kings thing are still on the sort of, are we getting there?
Yeah.
But this is still not enough for, to be worth it, I think, to jump in yet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think they both had, their first good expansions this year.
I think Victoria's the one I'm interested in. Between Crusader Kings 3 and Victoria 3.
Yeah, you're aligned with me on this front. I do want to see the new stuff they add to flesh out Crusader Kings 3, but also they need to still flesh out more.
Crusader Kings 3 I at least appreciate as I feel like it's the Paradox game I've been able to play that goes down the smoothest in terms of just the friction of okay, how the fuck do I even operate these menus is not there. And again, part of that's probably because I have experience with 2 and other games, but it was very easy to pick that one up, which I appreciated, but I've not spent a ton of time with it.
Mm-hmm. I had a good time with Crusader Kings 2, but there was a degree of I could use some more things to do. Other than Okay, I will. Once I got converted to Yazidism, I started having a great time fighting just too many wars. Because I was like, oh, I can now fight holy wars of conquest against my neighbors. I don't have to justify anything. I can just do it. I can just take land. And so I started conquering shit all the time. And the empress who like created the Empire of Britannia, she fought like, she converted to Yazidism. That was her. She was the beginning of that. United all this land, conquered a bunch of stuff, and then, like, the moment she was done, like, put down her sword and, like, became depressed and then became a poet, and I was like, that's hilarious.
I like that. Like, it's like that one famous Mauryan emperor, Ashoka, I think his name is.
I do not know this man. My go-to, I was like, oh, I have my Cao Cao.
Oh, he was like the, I forget if he's the son or the grandson of Chandragupta Maurya, who founded the Maurya Empire, and he just like did like a really bloody campaign in the eastern Indian region of Orissa, and after conquer it, he was like, "Damn, this kind of is fucked up," and he converts to Buddhism.
Oh wow, that's fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, Crusader Kings 2, it's all right. It's pretty good.
Yeah. There's a reason that's the one that kind of, I want to say that's the one that took off, but I feel like Europa Universalis has like the biggest player count for some reason.
I think Crusader Kings 2 is the one that I knew about when I didn't really know about Paradox games.
Yeah.
I still knew about Crusader Kings 2. I was like, oh, Crusader Kings 2, that's that crazy game that people like.
I think what helps with both of those is they went further in on tutorialization, and I do know that they, like, those two games specifically,
actually,
very often included in, like, humble bundles and stuff like that. That's how I got mine.
I think I'm wrong. I think it's not EU4. I think it's Hearts of Iron 4. That's the biggest one.
That would make sense. I mean, historically speaking, like, I know way back in the day, Hearts of Iron was huge for them, and I think the other ones kind of struggled to get the audience until the sequels.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of curious about the older Hearts of Iron, because I know some of them have, like, weird fantasy scenarios, but,
Hearts of Iron 2 is a wild game that I had a lot of fun with when I was younger, but I don't know if I'd ever have the guts to go back to it, just because it's very finicky.
There's an academic curiosity I have for the older titles, where I'm like, I wouldn't, like, go back. I'm sure I wouldn't, like, I wouldn't play this like I would, like, play a, CK2 or CK3 these days, but, like, it'd be, like, an academic exercise in, like, playing these older games and seeing what they have to offer.
It's kind of fun playing as Mexico and just being like, in the middle of all this, we're just going to invade the United States just for the fuck of it.
Mm-hmm.
Good time.
Good times.
Good times.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
Who's up next?
I'm here.
You're here.
Now.
Hello.
Doing the best I can.
Okay.
Quoting Tekken 5's opening song, because that's what I've been doing. I've been playing Tekken. Let me tell you about a man named Clive.
Is he sad?
I fucking hate this guy. So they added Clive from Final Fantasy 16 into Tekken 8 as a DLC character. I fucking hate this character so much. And the worst part is that he's allegedly not that good when you actually really know what you're doing. I don't fucking know what I'm doing. So people just, like, go in and do all the bullshit, and I can't react to that. Genuinely the first character in a while that I'm like, oh, your addition to this roster has made my enjoyment of the game go down. I need to carve out time to learn how to specifically fight just this one character. Which I have not felt the need to do with anyone else.
Is he the Leroy of this game?
In what way?
Oh, well, he's like the problem everyone has to learn how to face.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, do you mean Leroy as in, like, Tekken 7 Leroy?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, okay, yeah, for some reason I was thinking other franchises. But yeah, no, he is kind of the Leroy. It's funny now, because nobody plays Leroy in 8, he kind of sucks now. But yeah, he's... The problem with him is that he has a lot of tricks that are very simple to execute and do a lot of damage. The thing is that he only has so many of them, and when you learn how to block or sidestep each of them, he is open to a lot of free damage, which is why a lot of the very high-level players are like, oh, he's not actually that bad. But the process of learning how to deal with all of his bullshit, and all, like, there is just a degree to which in the lower to mid ranks where I'm at, like, you can tell that there are people that are kind of being carried by people's lack of awareness, and just round start are just immediately doing his super powerful armor move that, unless you really know, like, the timing on how to punish that, you can just get away with spamming that button all day against weaker players and just win. So I've been a little bit annoyed at that, but fortunately, I stuck through with it. I've been playing a lot of Tekken, many hours on end, and I finally got to purple ranks, which is more than halfway up the ladder of the ranks in that game. Like, I think it's number 18 out of 29. So I'm getting there. Purple is respectable. I feel like blue, which is the next rank, is really the one where there's, like, no real... People, the Tekken community is insufferable about where, quote-unquote, actual Tekken starts, in terms of... Yeah, in terms of, like, okay, here's where shit gets really real. Red rank, which is the last time I talked on this podcast about getting to a Tekken rank, I was struggling to get into red ranks. It goes red, yellow, then red, then purple, then blue, and then beyond that is, like, the real high-level shit. Red ranks is kind of the stage of the game where everybody in that rank has a pretty good command of their character and the general flowcharts that they need to do to win a match of Tekken. The thing is, nobody knows how to deal with anyone else's character. So it just kind of becomes a weird scramble fest of, okay, I'm gonna try to do my bullshit better and faster than they can do their bullshit, and eventually one of us is gonna win. Purple is where you start to really needing to learn, one, movement, in terms of, like, the advanced, like, sidestepping and, like, Korean backdash and stuff like that to really maximize, like, okay, I need to get from point A to point B very fast or else I'm gonna be fucked here, and I need to actually just, like, hammer away at learning how to do that stuff execution-wise, which isn't the easiest thing in the world. Not looking forward to learning that stuff, but gotta do it. Well, I guess Korean backdash not so much anymore. They kind of nerfed that from 7 to 8. But there's, like, sidesteps and, like, very specific, like, 3D fighting game movement stuff you gotta learn. But this is also the part of the game where people are like, if you're not going to graduate from this rank if you don't practice countering specific moves and stuff that the other characters are doing. And Tekken has a big roster, so that's going to be a lot of learning too. I have a feeling I'm going to be stuck here for a while. But my goal is by the end of the year, I want to hopefully beat a blue rank. I think I can do it, but it's going to be a lot of work, and I'm not looking forward to spending hours in training mode after getting blown up by someone going, okay, what the fuck could I have done here? But, you know, that's just part of the process. And I know at the end of it, it'll be fun. It's just a lot of elbow grease getting better from this point. So, that's been good. I wasn't going to talk about this, but then I said the word graduate, and it reminded me.
I will excuse myself from
man,
call for
I
a few
loved
minutes.
Fauna.
Yeah. My favorite streamer, Ceres Fauna, left Hololive. She's done. I watched her final stream, and it was like, ah, damn, we had a good run. It was fun. She made it very obvious in the lead-up, like, yeah, you shouldn't be too sad about it, which I appreciated, because, the alt account is already up, and I'm following it. So, I hope she enjoys a very long break, and I am very eager to see what the fuck she gets up to now that she's indie and out doing her own thing. And, it's been cool, seeing her growth from, like, I was there day one being like, oh, what's she cooking? And I was like, oh, damn, she's really funny. And And then at some point I discovered Northern Lion and realized, wait, half of her stream she's just taking Northern Lion's ideas. But also, she's good enough and funny enough, and like she's not just like copying him wholesale.
It's transformative, fair use.
Yes. Well, there's people call Northern Lion like kind of like the your band's favorite band thing that people say for influential
your
bands.
streamer's favorite streamer.
Yeah. Like there's definitely a lot of Northern Lion DNA in Fauna, and she's very open about that. And it's been fun getting into him as well.
Crazy fucking sentence. I'm sorry. Please continue.
It's true. From like conversational style to game selection. There's definitely like a lineage there. But yeah, it's been fun watching her get better at the streaming thing and, playing weird shit and yapping, having a good time. And I'm eager to see what the fuck she's up to on her next account. But yeah, the last thing is something that I started at 12:30 last night. And I didn't expect, but I kind of just did it on a whim. I started Tales of Phantasia.
Hell yeah. You're playing the PS1 version, right?
Yes, I'm playing the PS1 version with the second translation patch that was made for it.
So this, for the audience knowledge, this is like a remake of the Super Famicom game, but this uses the battle system from Tales of Destiny PS1. Because the Super Famicom game is a little bit different combat-wise.
Yeah.
Just in terms of like this one adds like directional inputs for the arts, which wasn't in the Super Famicom version.
And very importantly, this translation patch starts you out with an accessory that you normally get about 8 to 10 hours, I think, into the game, called the Technical Ring, which allows you to use a control system that isn't dog shit.
Yeah, you have to, in the first early games, you had to like get an item to use manual mode, which is crazy.
So by default, the game is on this semi-auto thing where you do the only way I can describe this is you do a series of button presses. Your guy runs up to the enemy, does some attacks, and then runs back to the starting point, and like you just constantly have him keep running back and forth as you do like a combo, and then like it's weird.
Yeah. Okay. Just to interject, I do think, unfortunately, later games still do this, set you to semi-auto automatically, but like sometimes it depends how far in the game you get to it. Like I remember in Symphonia I could just switch automatically, but if you recall when we did Abyss, it took us like 20 minutes to actually get manual mode again.
Yeah, it's it's bizarre to me that this is the default because it's just not fun.
I assume maybe the thinking is like it's the version that like people will the casual players turn their brain off and play.
Yeah,
even though it feels like it's like you have to fight it in my head.
Yeah, that's my thing is I feel like I'm struggling to control my character, and then manual it plays like a normal ass video game. And also honestly, game's pretty easy so far.
Yeah.
But this is the first in the Tales of action RPG series, where you're basically like it's set up like 2D like fighting game style, where you have your crew, and then on either side of you have enemies. And unlike Tales of the Abyss that Mel and I are playing, there's no third dimension at all. Like you're not switching between targets.
Yeah.
And I think I like it that way. I actually really like this game's combat system a lot so far. It's pretty fun experimenting even with the limited toolset I have to see like what I can do in terms of like stunning enemies so that they can't get out of my shit. Just jumping and hitting the attack button over and over again on larger enemies just makes it so that they can't fight back, which is pretty fun to discover that. Sometimes there's smaller enemies that like you can't really do your higher attacks. You kind of have to like aim low to hit them. And conversely, there's like flying enemies that you have to kind of get up in the air or find like ways to knock them down, sort of thing. It's been cool so far. The story is very traditional JRPG. I'm hitting there's a random button on all of the character names that goes on for a very long time. And I decided to, so I decided with the main character, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just hit random till I get a name I like. And I hit random maybe like 50 plus times, and none of the names repeated. And at some point we were just like, how long does this list go? And then we kept going, and then eventually it hit the name Brad, and I was like, oh, this is fate. I have to pick this name. And then my friend Marie chimed in, I don't think that's fate. You hit the random button like 200 times. But we then decided to go with everyone gets a B name. So your archer friend Chester is now named Buddy. And then the main heroine, Mint, is now named Balbina, which I guess is the name of a saint or something like that. We looked it up because we were like, what the fuck is this name? So everyone's getting B names. But very, very basic JRPG setup where your main character is the descendant, and by descendant I mean the son, very direct, of a hero that helped seal away an evil villain. And you have one of the two pendants necessary to unseal the evil villain. And then you meet up with another descendant who's the heroine of the main character, and you get tricked into unsealing the evil, as part of this, like, big, long-winded prologue process where your hometown gets destroyed, the classic. And, this evil is threatening the world, and as a last-ditch effort to get you to find a way to defeat the evil or seal it once more or whatever, one of your father's friends sends you like a couple hundred years or so back into the past, so that you can uncover the secret of his weakness. To play the games that suck ass, yeah. It feels like a Super Nintendo game story. I don't know how much of this is the PS1 remake, but the game looks beautiful.
I think so. I think disagree with some of it. Like, they had to redo a lot of the graphics because if I recall correctly, when they designed the character sprites for the Super Nintendo characters first, and then they got like the artists for this game and for like the Tales of the Team Symphony games is the Oh My Goddess artist.
You know what? I can see that. That makes sense.
So yeah, that artist did Phantasia and also Symphonia Abyss and Vesperia. And the character designs they did are just completely different from the ones that are in the Super Nintendo game. And so they redid the sprites, the PS1 version, to make them look more like the official character designs, basically.
Okay. Yeah, like, I was just really impressed, like, the sprite work just for the maps and the characters all look really good. The effects are really good. Like, you'll run past a mirror in this game, and the mirror, like, the reflection looks really solid. When you walk over puddles, it ripples in this, like, it's like this touch of, like, 32-bit effect work over this very 16-bit looking game.
Yeah.
And it's just sick.
It's that's cool to hear because, like, at the time of its release, obviously, Phantasia was like a crazy super game on the Super Nintendo. So the fact that we managed to carry that over to the PS1 is pretty good.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous looking game. I've been thoroughly impressed by it so far. It really feels like, hey, do you want an honest to god classic old school style JRPG where just you hit the ground running with, you have main character boy who's like, I want to be the hero, but I don't know if I got what it takes. The reliable kind of snarky best friend, and then the heroine who's shy but deep down really cares about everyone and gets embarrassed easily. It's just like, okay, we got everyone here. First 2 hours of the game. Let's see what you're cooking with this evil overlord threatening the world. I'm looking forward to playing more.
Yeah, I definitely want to get to that at some point. It feels like the PS1 version is the one to play, though I also have like a curiosity a bit of like the Super Nintendo game, because like the team who made that game went on to form Tri-Ace and do Star Ocean, so I'm also curious of like Super Nintendo, specifically Phantasia, as a predecessor to Super Nintendo Star Ocean. Because like obviously the remake of Phantasia is a different thing because it's coming from the post-Destiny lineage, because it's a different team doing that. Also definitely like would be curious to see how, if you get around to later the 2D games, other 2D PS2 games, just because, I went back to over the holidays, I'm not gonna talk about it, but I went back to my Tales of Destiny file and to refresh myself, because apparently last time I played it was in February. But yeah, it's definitely like interesting comparing those two styles of games on the same hardware. And also the Tales of Rebirth translation patch is out now. So hey.
Yeah. That leaves only... Is it like Destiny 2 is the only one we don't have, or something like that? There's only one missing now.
Yeah,
right?
I think of the big releases, Destiny 2 is the one that's missing. Though I think there's also like a desire to retranslate Eternia because that one just cuts out all the skits from the Japanese release, the official translation, and so it's like, well, we got to put those back in because that's like part of the Tales identity. Half the characterization's there, so.
The skits in I think the skits in Phantasia so far have been really good too. I mean they're a little more basic than I'd say the ones I've seen in like Abyss and like what we've played, but like they're fun. I
could be correct on this, but if I'm not mistaken, Phantasia PS1 is the first introduction of skits to the franchise.
Okay. It's just kind of cool having, like, in Abyss, I feel like we ran into some situations where it's just like, oh, we're in the middle of a town, and then suddenly we get, like, 2 skits that, like... Yeah. Maybe one's good and one kind of feels like it didn't need to be there.
That's something I felt playing Abyss coming off of Symphonia, is I feel like, in my experience, Abyss just kind of, like, throws a bunch of us at once in a way that Symphonia didn't for me.
Yeah.
And, like, it does feel like... I think it became a running gag in our stream where we finish a cutscene and we wonder, okay... Let's see how many skits we have now to do immediately.
Yeah. And also sometimes being like, why wasn't that just in the cutscene we watched?
Yeah. And that's a complaint I think my my friend Kayam has of like Berseria, where it's like they cut down on like the sort of like I guess you call them like bonus skits, and instead add a lot more skits immediately after cutscenes. So that way it turns skits into like extra cutscenes. Instead of like, the bonus character interactions when you're just exploring kind of thing.
See, and what's funny, it's funny you mentioned that, because to that observation, something that clicked in my brain playing the first 2.5 hours of this game and doing the skits, which I believe are exclusive to the overworld. I don't think I've done it in town yet. I think it might just be in the overworld. But I realized, wait a minute, this is something extra for you to do to spice up the admittedly kind of bland, I'm walking from starter town to next town on like a very traditional overworld map, and this is something to do beyond random encounters to make that interesting. Yeah. Is you get a little travel, like, what are they talking about while they're traveling sort of thing, which is cool.
Yeah, I think that's probably how it started. I think the way I had it explained to me is like, it kind of develops into like an early kind of achievement system where it's like, doing little quirky things will get you like a new skit. Some of them like obviously easier to stumble upon than others, some of them automatic, but just like trying to get all the skits becomes its own reward in a way, especially because it gets tied in with sometimes with titles as well. Like in Symphonia, there's some titles you can only get if you activate a certain skit.
That makes sense.
Anyway, it's interesting.
But yeah, that's been my week.
Nice. Mel, what you been up to?
Hello. I got a few things. First of all, I watched a short OVA, which allows me to actually bring up something that I finished during our in between Ace and Taro break. I watched a 90s OVA called Sukeban Deka, which is an adaptation of, a manga of the same name. But previously, I'd also finished the first season of Toei's live-action adaptation of that series. And basically, part of my impetus for doing this was when I finished it during our Taro break, I was like, well, there's too much to talk about. The episode's going to be too long. So I'm just going to save this OVA for later so I can bring this drama again later. And so I'm doing that now. But anyway, the basic story of Sukeban Deka is that a girl named Saki, who is like a, Sukeban, a female delinquent, is kind of pressured into by the Japanese police to become sort of like their like undercover detective to investigate sort of crimes happening in like school settings where the police don't really have necessarily easy access to, like private academies.
This has historically gotten people killed.
Yeah. Guess what happens in the series? And like they hold over the fact, well, your mother, she's on death row. You wouldn't want anything to happen to her, huh? As sort of like the sort of Damocles overhead to make her comply. And in order to do her job, she's like given her trusty weapon, a yo-yo, with like the chrysanthemum badge hidden inside.
Oh my god. Yo-yo weapon?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. And so...
everything's inspired by Earthbound these days.
First of all, I'm going to say that like this anime, I think, that is a bit closer to the inspiration. I think it adapts the manga more closely. You can tell a bit because like in the manga, well, first of all, because it's live action series, Saki does not have pink hair in the live action series, but in the anime she does, like in the manga. And I feel like, this inspired Utena's design.
Oh,
feels very obvious.
This I can see. I could see this being.
Yeah, and so there's only 2 episodes, so it's very concentrated. 2 40-minute episodes, as opposed to like the TV drama, which was like 24 or so half-hour episodes in the 80s. The TV drama starts off a lot more episodic, like 13 episodes or so, where she solves crimes. Some people definitely die. There's definitely like I think it's definitely like some degree of like a class element coming to play, because she's going to a rich school and it's really corrupt, and also sort of like she's at the behest of the state power, like forced to become a cop for their sake, and they're sort of like, it's just sort of fucked on all sides.
Can I, like, tonally, how is that played? Because like you described all this, but then the yo-yo kind of took me out. Is this like taking it super seriously, and then the yo-yo is just kind of like a...
It's for cool action scenes, but
okay.
It's definitely played very seriously.
Okay.
And I would say the OVA goes further into being like really dark and bleak in a way that feels probably more in line with the manga, but also feels a bit more much to me. Whereas I think like they take a softer approach to the drama because it's on TV, but like, you know, it's not like it is not like it's like less levity. Though I will say the OVA does have this funny moment where like she's at a bar talking to her teacher who she hates, but like there's a teacher, Numa, who's like on her ass because he's like a really strict teacher, but he's unlike the other teachers, he's like actually a good teacher. He's just an asshole, but like he's not corrupt, and so they have a common cause. And there's this good moment right here. But obviously, you know, it's there's actually more cartoony like humor in the OVA that I think is probably more in line with manga. Like there's this tag along guy named Sanpei who likes Saki, and in like the live action show he's a bit more toned down, and this one he's a bit more cartoony. And that plays out in the fight scenes too, where there's like some pretty cool you get like cool ass martial arts in the live action show. Do I have a clip? I might see if I whereas in this one you get a lot more like cool crazy flips, more exaggerated ones. But basically the OVA overlaps with the second half of the live action series story arc, where it's like the Seoul sort of kind of infiltrated and taken over by 3 sisters known as the Mizuchi sisters, who are like daughters of the oligarch Goro Mizuchi, and they're like it's a big Mizuchi conglomerate, you know, Zaibatsu's in Japan, but also they have like ties to the underworld, and like, we're gonna secretly control take over Japan by like making all the like the rich, but, you know, taking over a rich school and making all the rich families indebted to us, kind of thing is the plan. And I feel like that the definitely story gets kind of bleaker because all the 3 daughters are sickos and willing to fucking do the evil shit to get shit done. And then in the drama, it becomes a lot more serialized at that point. And I feel like it creates a lot of forward momentum when watching, but I also feel like just because like 13 episodes of the plot that keeps going, it gets really exhausting. Whereas there's a kind of it's the same story kind of condensed into like 2 40-minute episodes, so it's more manageable. But also it goes kind of like like I said, it gets harsher and bleaker. Like there's a lot more like so obviously they have more like sexual assault and stuff like that happening, and it's like this is a bit much, in my opinion. So it's kind of like it's a weird balancing act where I feel like neither
punchier but more fraught sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I think some things are changed in the manga between the live action show, where like the OVA doesn't show it, but like I believe in the manga Saki's mom is like actually villainous, whereas in the drama she's like actually like an innocent good mother. And ironically enough, the happy versus like bittersweet ending is kind of like mismatched between these in a way, where like the live action has a pretty good has a pretty good happy ending, and then 2 more episodes where it feels like it needs to get to a point, and then makes the plot happen to do that. Whereas this one kind of just has the final showdown, and then it's like, oh well, she won. That's cool. I think part of that is also the drama went on for like 2 more seasons. But in each season they kind of like the original Saki goes missing, and then the title of Saki becomes a title for like other girls. So the second season, like there's a new girl who becomes the new Asami Asaki. Apparently the second season is the one that really took off. Like it got like 50 episodes. And also despite the mangaka didn't like the first season much, but even though I think the second season went off in its own direction, he felt like it was more true to what the manga was, and he liked it more. And then season 3 apparently was like really messy and weird, and then it got canceled there. And then they made a different show that's about a Sukeban who attacks with a rocket launcher or something, which I want to get to eventually. But
nice,
yeah. But anyway, yeah, that's a
just it's just standard kit for a delinquent.
Yeah. But yeah, that was Sukeban Deka. I mostly watched this OVA just so I could like finally talk about the season 1, because eventually I'm gonna like come around to watching season 2, and I want to be able to talk about it without being like, oh yes, I never talked about season 1. But yeah, I think it's like I don't know if I'm like a super fan, but it's neat. Like there's stuff that makes it like disconnect from me, but there's also stuff to appreciate. Anyway, I think it's like obviously very influential in a lot of ways. Like it definitely kicked off like a genre of like Sukeban heroine stories, and I feel like there's like there's a lot of like stories where if you have a Sukeban character, she's gonna be inspired by Saki or something. So
I'm looking at this now and I'm like, I'm surprised. I feel like I've never seen this before, because this seems like cool and like a bigger deal.
Yeah. Yeah, like the manga's not even translated at all, or maybe only like partially. But yeah, it does feel weird because it does feel like it's definitely like it was a major pillar, I think, of Toei's 80s output in their like quote unquote toku space. And like, yeah, it just feels weird as like a thing that like feels culturally important to like Japanese media, but also is just like not really present. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird.
I'm looking at manga decks, and it looks like 9 out of the 22 volumes are translated, but the last update was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's weird. But yeah, I think Sukeban Deka is pretty neat. Yeah.
Nice.
I'm gonna move right along because I ended up, I feel like I fell down a rabbit hole in continuing my weird journey through overly long 50s 60s epic movies because I have watched the classic film Benjamin Hercury.
That's the one.
Or Ben-Hur for short. And not only have I watched the 1959 movie, but I also went and watched the 1925 silent film that it's a remake of.
I did not know Ben-Hur was a remake.
I didn't either.
Yeah, I didn't until like a couple weeks ago.
You're going full swords and sandals mode.
Yeah.
This is a movie I've only seen the big famous scene of. With the chariots.
Let me tell you. It's a fucking good scene.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I should watch the rest of it. How was the rest of it?
It was really good. I think so. This is the third 50s/60s epic movie I have seen that also stars Charlton Heston.
He was the guy.
He was the guy.
He would have played Shadow the Hedgehog if Shadow the Hedgehog existed during this time period.
Oh my god.
You know what? You're right.
What an incredible assertion.
I can see it.
I feel like there's layers to that assertion too. Like not only for him, but also for Keanu Reeves.
Damn. I don't. Whoa. That's
Ben-Hur walking in on Masala in this movie, like, yeah, I'm thinking I'm back. But yeah, so apparently this Ben-Hur is like started as a novel in the 1800s, called A Tale of the Christ, because about like a Jewish prince in Roman occupied Judea, whose life just happens to like intersect with Jesus at various points. Like Jesus happened in the background. He's important, but like varying degrees at different points in the story.
Subaraya nodding in approval.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, so he's like a really wealthy aristocrat in Roman Judea, who's also best childhood friends with Masala, who's like a Roman who grew up with them. That went off to become like a legionnaire and comes back being like the biggest evil super cop. Fully bought in, drank the wine, drank the Kool-Aid, and is like, yeah, I'm all for the Empire. And I need to get you, like, he's like, it's really uncomfortable in the early parts because it's like they're so clearly like the bond is there between him and like the others, but him and Ben-Hur's family. But also he just can't stop himself from just like saying like the most evil imperialist shit. Like, let me get you this good scene from like the beginning of the movie, because he's like, yeah, anyway, the triumph of Rome is superior, and you know Jews just have to like follow along and like listen. But anyway, enough of that politics talks. You know, I haven't seen you in so long, and like this line. Anyway, just click that link.
I'm clicking the link. Unfortunately, my internet is dog shit right now, so I will not be seeing it.
I am also getting this site cannot be reached.
That's weird. Fuck off, VX. Oh, you know what? It's because it says VX Twitters.
Oh yeah.
There we go.
Okay, I now have it. I'm opening this.
Yeah.
We marched out on the capital. Barbaric city, but fascinating. Or was, till we destroyed it. Now it's nothing but ashes. Normal guy.
Yeah. And it's just such an awkward conversation. But basically now he like, you know, at first like Ben-Hur's kind of like, you know, I don't want my people to be like subjects. But I am happy for like my friend that he like advanced politically and militarist up the ladder. But like the sort of the severing happens when like Ben-Hur's like, well, I don't want like necessarily, I want like independence, but I don't want violence. So I'll try to use my influence to try and like get people to talk some sense to people. But like the divide comes because Masala is like, well, you'll tell me who the seditious people are, right? Like you'll be an informant for, and he's like, no, I'm not going to sell out my people. And that kind of creates a rift where there's an accident where they accidentally drop tiles from the roost. They're like watching the new governor come in, and a loose tile from their house drops on him, and it's like, oh well, you tried to kill the governor, so as punishment being sold to slavery. And Ben-Hur's like, what the fuck, dude? You know we're innocent, right? And Masal's like, yeah, I investigated your rooftop, and I know you're innocent, but we need to do this to make a point. And so he's betrayed. It becomes a story of betrayal. As like, he's taken off in chains to be sent to the ship galleys, which apparently isn't a thing that actually was in Rome. They didn't use slave galleys in Rome, but in his as he's being taken through the desert to the galleys, you know, the Romans taunt him with not give him water, but then he's given water by the son of a helpful carpenter whose face is off screen. I wonder who he could be.
Who could it possibly be?
And so, yeah, the story basically goes like he gets him in the galley, and then through circumstance, becomes the adopted son of the captain of the galley, Arius, and becomes champion of the Roman games in Rome. And eventually, you know, he's like, okay, you are my adopted dad, even though you're also a Roman slaveholder, imperialist. But I do love you as a father. But I do have to go back to Judea to find my family because his mom and sister were also arrested. And eventually, sort of like, you know, the thing going on in the background is like, oh, they've been abandoned in this prison cells, and they have leprosy now. And meanwhile, well, also he just casually meets Pontius Pilate at a dinner party, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna be the new province governor there. I'm sure that won't be important.
Yeah, it's pretty normal.
And then, you know, he eventually goes back and tries to have his revenge, and this culminates in that really big, sick-ass, dope-as-fuck chariot scene, which, you know what? It's also pretty dope as fuck in the 1920s version. It's pretty impressive.
Nice.
And yeah, eventually, you know, it comes to ways and like, oh, you know, revenge isn't all it's cracked up to be, because I don't have all the things I want. And then the last 30 minutes is kind of just like Jesus kind of takes over the plot in a way that's kind of cringy, but sort of like he sort of like does something clever, I think, where it's like he recognizes, oh, actually my revenge should be against the system and not just one guy, because like it's the Roman Empire that's the problem, and not just like the fact that Masal is a fucking dick. Like the imperialism is bad, but then it kind of just becomes like, you know, he witnesses you know, Jesus's final moments and is like, you know what, I don't want to do the cycle of violence stuff, actually. And I'm like, boo, resistance to imperialist occupation is good, actually. But, you know, otherwise, pretty, on the whole, fucking banger, good movie. Cool-ass set pieces, cool-ass sets. I showed, you saw me tweeting about the miniatures, the boats. I don't know if Brad saw them, but
I don't think I have not been on social media as much.
I've seen the minis. I've seen the little ships.
Yeah. Really good.
Ooh, these are nice.
Yeah. Although I think in the 1920s version they're just using a regular ass ship with people on it.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's fucking
so, you know,
expensive.
different level of. Oh yeah. Obviously, like, big ass movie in both cases. It's interesting comparing the two, because I think, like, as a silent movie, it's a lot more like exaggerated. I think you have to be, because you're not actually delivering the lines. You have to act with your face in your body, and
presumably
you get like
presumably way fewer lines, and you have it. Yes. It's like much more like, because, you know, I've watched some. I've watched a few in my time, but it's like,
yeah, so this is my first experience with like
the effect. I imagine is the effect sort of like it feels a little more on like a mythical, like biblical type thing. Yeah,
but also theatrical.
True.
Yeah, but also sometimes that means like there's a lot more ham-fisted lines where like Masala is just that much more racist. Overtly. But also, you know, sometimes you see some pretty sick banger lines, because they're using the real estate they have, because you'll have them acting out, and then you'll have a flashcard for a few seconds of like a line was said. And like, when in the silent version, when Arius meets Judah on the rowing the boat, and he's like, "How long have you served here?" And he says in the silent version, "On your calendar, 3 years, and mine's 3 centuries." And I'm like, "Oh, that's raw."
That's a banger.
Yeah, it's a bit more subdued in like the 1950s version. Even like I mentioned, like the Ten Commandments. Apparently, that movie had like a more theatrical, quote unquote, dated style, even for its time. And you can kind of feel it with this one, where it does feel like a more like the line delivery you'd expect from cinema, where it's like a bit more grounded and stuff like that. And I think it's well done. It's a really compelling story. It helps it. You can tell it's a compelling story the way like, it's equally as entertaining. Well, not equally, but like, still entertaining in the silent version. Even if it's like a bit more ham-fisted and stuff like that at parts. Charlton Heston, and I think it's like, who's the other guy? Starts with an S.
I do not know.
Yeah, I'm trying to look because it was
Ben-Hur.
up on
Stephen Boyd.
Stephen Boyd, yes. They play a toxic Yowie well. Apparently, this may be an apocryphal story, but apparently, the director and the writer, the director may have been like secretly homosexual, but like the director and the writer told Stephen Boyd, "Okay, so play this like Masala and Ben-Hur are like, we're ex-childhood lovers or something."
Oh my god!
And really into that energy, but they didn't tell Charlton Heston this.
Well.
So
here's the thing: you wouldn't tell Charlton Heston that.
It turns out, yeah, he didn't react well to that when he found out later. But yeah, it's really, I think, obviously, I think I prefer the 1950s version, but it's really impressive. It was really cool seeing what they were able to pull off in the 20s. Like, there's even like some scenes where like when the scenes where like Jesus is in the silent version, they colorize it, and I was like, I didn't even know they colorized things that early. Like not like a color tinting, but like actual like Technicolor kind of stuff. And it was pretty neat. There's always some like goofiness to it, because like the Her family has like a couple of like slaves, and it's like, to us you're like, you're just like family. It's like,
they have to be like, yeah, they had slaves, but they were nice to them. They were nice to their slaves,
which is really funny in the context of having watched 10 Commandments last week, a story about escaping slavery. And one of the slaves ended up becoming like Charlton Heston's love interest.
This is people love to, when they make a movie about a character that owns a slave, about who's supposed to be the hero. People are coward. They love to not lean into like the fucked upness, the irony of it. They love to be like, there's actually like a personal, like they did this in Troy with Achilles.
Yeah.
They do this all the time. People love to do this.
Yeah. Well, it's the problem you run into where like we're telling these stories of these ancient societies today, but you can't get around the fact that these were slave societies, and like all the notable people of power had slaves, and that's just like true of the society as it was.
Yeah. You just gotta like lean into the irony of this, of fighting for independence while owning slaves. You have to lean into that.
Yeah, because like that was the thing with like I mentioned with like Exodus. I think that also comes up in like the 10 Commandments blockbusters too. It's just like it's a story about the Judean people escaping Egyptian slavery, presumably to set up a new country where they will also have slaves, and that's like not the part that's talked about. And it's like it's not through any like character, but because that is the structure of class society at that time in history. In that
it's not like, slavery is not the enemy. It is, our slavers are the enemy.
Yes. And that's in case of Ten Commandments, it was Egypt, but also at the end specifically Ramses, which is really funny.
You have mentioned, I listened through the podcast, and you mentioned liking Yul Brynner a lot. You also recently mentioned that you haven't really watched many westerns. What if I told you that the Magnificent Seven, the remake of Seven Samurai, the main character is Yul Brynner? That
sounds sick.
That's a good movie.
I was like, I'm kind of apprehensive, obviously, because of the subject matter. I'm like apprehensive of westerns.
Mm-hmm. There are some,
but also
the ones that kind of dodge. Okay, the good. There are two types of good western. There are two types of good western. There are the ones that ignore the fact that this is all evil entirely. Just forget about that. Just absent that from your mind immediately. We're not going to deal with any of that. The second type is the type that's like, yeah, that shit was evil.
Yeah.
Semi-related, I do highly recommend The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, which, if you've ever heard the phrase print the legend, that's where that comes from, and it's a movie all about that, and it's a good time.
Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, I was thinking, I was thinking that like Magnificent Seven would be the one to watch specifically in tandem with watching Seven Samurai. Here's
the thing about the thing with the Magnificent Seven is I like it because it is good. It is good.
Yeah.
Seven Samurai will murder it and leave it in a back alley. It's like
absolutely. No contest.
It's no contest.
I was just thinking it'd be like if I was to watch one, that'd be a fun way to do it because I may as well go Kurosawa mode.
Yeah.
I figured
you could also do like Fistful of Dollars with Yojimbo.
Yeah.
Wait, is that a oh my god, is that a thing? I never realized.
Yeah, Fistful of Dollars is Yojimbo. Also, Light Yojimbo is the original Django. Listener, you gotta go watch the original Django right now. He's the coolest guy. Django's so cool.
I've been thinking of rewatching the Dollars trilogy because that's something I have not seen since I was a kid, and I was like, it'd be fun ? Revisiting that with the perspective I have now.
That's not good.
I'm gonna leave this as cryptic as possible, but I'm like, there have been ideas that I've raised which make me go, I should study. I should go watch some westerns and also consider the intersection with Japanese culture for homework, depending on if we do it. But
Mel being like, I'm doing so much homework so I can fully appreciate that one Western part of Live Alive.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yes, precisely.
When we do the Live Alive Detour Core and we go through every the RPG section.
Mm-hmm.
What episode?
Yeah, exactly. Well, the one episode will be the caveman one.
There is one chapter of Live Alive that is made for this podcast.
Yeah,
that's true. Detour Core could be anything if we wanted to.
True. Anyway,
but yeah,
your sword and sandals adventures. Back here.
Yeah. The one thing I want to raise about like there's some plot differences. Where like in like the 50s one, he sort of like is like, all right, I want to have revenge on the state of Rome, and it doesn't actually go through that or anything. He is, the stuff happens. But in the novel, and that gets carried over into the silent version, he's like, all right, I'm gonna go raise some legions, and he does that. And he's like, all right, well, Jesus is supposed to be the new king, and I'm gonna, I got the king and army, and let's go. And then Jesus is going to the cross, and he's like, don't worry, king, I got my army, we're gonna come get you. And then and Jesus is like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm sorry. When I said a kingdom, I meant Liam Neeson voice, the kingdom of heaven.
The idea of someone raising an army and rocking up to Jesus like, I'm gonna save you, and he's like, oh, bro, no, not like that. How long have you been marching? Oh, I can give you like $20 for a taxi. I like
yeah, and then he's just like because you just get like the Bible line on screen as like the the text of the silent motion, and you just get Ben-Hur looking at his sword and just like going like, "Ah, damn!" and it just throws the sword on the ground and his army cheers. And just like this, yeah, they're like, oh, he's like, oh, you're gonna be the king that delivers us from deliverance. So he's like, oh, well, no, not that kind of king. Sorry. It's just really funny to me.
This is right. Jesus stood there like, oh, in this life? No, that's not me. That's no, next life. That's the one.
Yeah. It's also really funny because the movie like starts off. Well, first off, you get the nativity scene, which is how the movie starts. And of course, the movie ends with
yeah,
the big thing, bookends. Also bookends. When one thing I really liked is the stories telling. When Jesus trips on the cross, like Ben-Hur tries to give him some water as some like thing. And I was like, oh, that's good. I like that. But it is just kind of funny. The opening narration is like, the Judean people were under the heel of the Roman boot, but there was talk of like a new much like Ten Commandments in Exodus. Like, oh, there's talk of a deliverer who would free them from their salvation. In Exodus, that's like the story. But meanwhile, in like the story of Jesus, I'm like, no, I don't think that's what actually happens in history. I actually think Jewish people would disagree really strongly about this.
Lol.
Especially the direction of Christianity once it becomes the religion of Rome. So it is funny that they choose to frame things that way. But yeah. This is definitely the best of these, I would say.
Okay, yeah.
I think it helps a lot. What were you saying?
No, I was going to say, this is definitely the one that's like held up as like the classic of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard that the director was like, Ten Commandments is a big deal, and the director was like, well, I want to out DeMille when making this movie. And I think it helps a lot that like El Cid is fun because unhinged, and then becomes normal, and then don't care about it as much.
Right.
Well, I mean, it never comes fully normal, but
normal derogatory.
Yeah. And then Ten Commandments, like the first bit is like the really entertaining drama of like Moses the guy against Ramses, and then like the last part becomes just the story of Exodus of Moses, the figure, the Messiah, and then it becomes less interesting from that point on. Whereas this one it's just pretty compelling all the way through, and like Charlton Heston in like those two movies feels more like heroic symbol of virtueman, where in this movie he's like spiteful revengeman, and that helps a lot and make him like feel distinct.
Yeah, he's a little more compelling. Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. And like you obviously like he's like basically one mode more or less, but like he does it delivery here better of just like living to out of spite just so he can eventually get back at Masala. And then sort of like delivery he has like where it's like he realizes oh, this is not actually worth it, and meanwhile like in his like last moment Masala like twists in life just like a little bit. It's like really good. And yeah, really a good time. Definitely check this one out. Obviously, classic movie for a reason. Yeah, I definitely feel like I want to check out more other stuff from this era. Camille on the Abnormal Mapping Discord gave me some good recommendations. One of which I'm like kind of trepidatious about because I heard it's like good, even from them. But also it's like set during the Russian Revolution and it's an American movie. I'm like, oh well, there's gonna be some politics there. I bet. But it'll probably be a good time for the most part. I'll probably laugh at the politics a bit. But yeah, I will say that one thing that's funny is like looking at the movie posters for all this genre movie from this era is like every single one of them is like the biggest event in cinematic history, the greatest storytelling of a lifetime kind of thing. And I'm like, that's not true. After all, the first episode of Mujica came out this week.
Oh, I have not watched this.
Yeah.
I-
I'm not going to talk about it, actually, because, presumably we'll talk about it later when we've seen more of it.
Yeah, I don't know when I'm gonna watch, because I saw some screenshots of some subtitles, and I was like, oh, I'm not watching that.
Yeah, the Crunchyroll ones are bad. And so I use a YouTube rip, but obviously it's lower quality, but like it actually subtitles like text and lyrics. That's the thing I could walk out for. Like the Crunchyroll subs are bad for that reason. Like they don't sub the lyrics, they don't sub important text messages on screen.
Yeah, there's also been like, I've just seen some like some like basic translation issues there. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
I don't know about this, so I'm just gonna I'm gonna wait. I don't know how long I will be waiting. We will see. We will find out.
I only brought it up because I thought it'd be funny as a segue.
It is a fun, yes. Avi Mujica.
I did like the first episode though, but we'll presumably we'll get a chance to talk about it later.
Yeah. I gotta rewatch Maiko.
Yeah, I wanted to rewatch Maiko. I don't know if I will. But I probably will at some point. I'll find a way to do it at some point.
Here's the thing.
Now
I probably don't need to rewatch Maiko. I'm just gonna mention this now. I think I've rewatched Maiko 4 times.
Oh, okay. I've only seen it one time.
Maybe 3 times. It's a good show. I keep watching it.
Yeah.
So that's just been happening in the background for the last like year and a half or whatever.
Yeah, I'll see when I rewatch it. Maiko.
Yeah,
it's fine. We'll figure it out. More importantly, I finished one other long project.
Okay.
Now, if you're not a fan of the words peak fiction, go raw, fire, click off the podcast. Because I'm here to tell you about a fucking card game anime.
More Yu-Gi-Oh?
No.
No?
Battle Spirits, Shounen Geikha Den, a 2009
The hell is this?
Sunrise card game anime, which I'm going to send you the Jam Project OP in the Twitter.
Okay.
And by Twitter,
Of
I mean the
course.
Oh, this looks like real something.
Yeah. So this is when I mentioned that the writer for the first 25 episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds wrote a different show. It was this one. And so this is the second season, second entry, I should say, in like a franchise called Battle Spirits, which is a Bandai card game that does seem to be taken a bit from Magic the Gathering, as you do, especially with the color themed decks specifically.
Okay.
And the plot of this one is obviously Protagonist Man is the red deck because that's what we do.
Lol.
And
Who has the white aggro deck?
I actually don't know if white is aggro in this game.
Which motherfucker has the counter deck? Who's got blue?
He's a guy named Suguri who is really obsessed with getting rare cards and plays like a bit of thief role. That's fun.
Okay.
But yeah, so in the show there's
Oh, the CG.
yeah, it's 2009.
It looks like it.
Yeah. Yeah. So in this, it's like you have like basically the protagonist Dan, and like as it turns out, 4 other people are like they play Battle Spirits in Japan, but then they get isekai to a fantasy world. And in this fantasy world, the fantasy people are being oppressed and colonized by humans. And it's like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And this fucking sucks. We have to fight against the oppression with card games. Don't worry about it.
With card games.
Yeah. And so the different heroes, each symbolizing like the different decks, because they're all the chosen heroes of each of the deck colors. You have like Dan, who's like your shonen guy. You have the yellow guy named Clacky Ray, which is a funny name. He's like a womanizer. I already mentioned Siguri. There's Mai, who's a purple girl. She's like a girl who writes a blog. And you have seemingly working for the bad guys, Yuki, who's like the rival. He's like the white guy. And then you have his sister, Kijitsu, who seems to be the green one, but question mark. There's another one actually. she's got something else in the story going on. And basically they're sort of like gathering the heroes together to fight against the Otherworld King, who's like a human who's like created this Earth colonizing empire in the fantasy world for some reason. And then you find out that the colonizing humans seem to come from different time periods. And the Otherworld King is specifically coming from the Age of Sail. He's literally fucking Christopher Columbus landing in Isekai World, was like, oh, I'm gonna colonize this place.
Huh?
And it's fucking wild. And it's just kind of cool. Kid show, good version of one of those. Doing swings, well, it's not crazy swings, obviously, but it's just like, doing a story about colonialism and fight against it in a card game isekai setting is wild, and I dig it. And also, at some point, they, in the battles, they, let me get a, hold on. In battles, they get, like, these armors, which you might notice from the screenshots. And, yeah, at some point, the protagonist just gets the Wings of Light.
Nice.
That's cool.
Nice.
And yeah, he, they all sort of like they're fighting against it. The last rest of the arc goes full Dunbine, because now the other World King is entering the Earth and starts making deals with like Earth politicians. And now that's a thing, and that's fun. There's a part where he like breaks into like the deep state, and it's like, this is the secret government that controls world capitalism. And
oh my god.
It's good. It's it's not gonna be like the smartest show, because still like a Japanese show made for children to sell a card game, but I think it does more. It goes places a bit more than I wish 5Ds was more willing to go. Here's an incredible screenshot of the actual green hero, whose name I forget.
Okay. Please connect me to the chief cabinet secretary.
It's really funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I like it. There's a sequel season. The third Battle Spirits show is a direct sequel to this one, and apparently this is the one that like got the most popularity, so it has a bunch of recent OVA spin-offs. But also it just seems like a cool show. I will say the one thing that I'm finding is I do enjoy card game anime, but I don't actually care about the card games part.
I was about to ask, so are you taking the plunge?
I enjoy watching these shows, but I do go burr a bit when I do treat the card games itself as more like the battle rages, because I'm more interested in like the narrative beats that the card game represents, the actual specific motions of like, the specific like, he plays a cool card and does a cool thing. I'm like, okay, this represents a thing for me. And I want to see those seasons. Also, because this is specifically a Bandai show, it was for a long time, this franchise was part of the TV Asahi Sunday morning programming block, which means you do get delightful images like this one.
I'm just hanging out with Kamen Rider and Sentai.
There she is.
Is that a pre-cure?
Yes.
That's love.
Yeah.
That's the pre-cure that believed in friendship so hard she wound up in a hospital.
Yeah.
As you do.
As you do.
In fact, let me get like another.
This girl is. I'm gonna tell you. This girl is fucking Looney Tunes. This is like she's like fighting cats in the street, with like picture postcard stuff, and like she's crazy.
Yeah.
Fresh Precure is a cartoon.
Yeah. Well, it's animated.
Yeah, but it's a cartoon.
Yeah. Also, there's from the first Battle Spirits season did give us this image as well. This is for ants. I'm sorry, but
I am open browser. Zoom in. I see.
Yeah, it's fun. That like it was like for a time the fourth one of these. It's obviously not that now, but I do appreciate seeing Dan next to like Kamen Double. Like, yeah, he belongs here, for some reason. And yeah, I just had a good time. I liked it. I want to watch more of this franchise. I don't want to necessarily dive into the next one yet because I feel like there's other stuff I want to go back to and finish. I did technically watch the first 5 episodes of this in 2020, and then I decided, I guess my online job that I had in the summer let me watch more stuff. So I was like, well, I'm just gonna go tackle stuff that like I had on the back burner, and this is one of them. And I feel glad I did because I really had a good time with it. I recommend it. If you're just like obviously, caveat, maybe if you don't care about kids anime and card game shows, you'd bounce off it. But if you're like down for that, I think it's a pretty good one of these. And I feel like it going wild with the setting does it have fun in ways that maybe other shows don't get a chance to do.
Nice.
The last thing, it was the last show, that was the last entry on my 2024 media entry thread. I was like, oh, good. Snuck it in right at the end. I'm glad I could top it off finally.
Nice. You mentioned getting card game stuff. I do have bad news for Gundam fans. There's a miniatures game now.
Yeah, I got
isn't
sent that by like 3 fucking people when that got announced.
Yeah. I will not be playing that miniatures game. I will not be doing that.
That one I will not be doing just because I have no interest, but I have been told by my card game friends that do not have any interest in Gundam whatsoever. Apparently that Gundam card game that they like had a beta for, pretty well received. So I was like, maybe I'll check that one out.
Saw some deranged card art. Okay, we're talking about Victory. For anyone who isn't familiar with Victory Gundam, this is a lot of Tomino has a fantasy. Look, that's how Tomino has a fantasy. Have you ever seen that art of the Shrike team all kind of like surrounding Uso?
No.
Okay, well then this will go over your head. But the point is, they upped the ante on that art for card art.
Oh, like you mean the original art?
Yes, the original.
I know what you're talking about.
Yes.
Okay, I thought you meant like specifically the new one. I have not seen the new one.
They upped the ante. It's like on the beach, and it's something. I'm like, okay, that's just a card. That's you just okay. Okay, I see. That's the only thing that I know about the Gundam card game. Although my Yu-Gi-Oh friend did message me and like, your fucking stupid robot anime has a card game out right now. Are you thinking of getting on that? I was like, no, fuck off. Get out of here.
Stay tuned for a bonus episode where we play through the Ultraman card game.
We will not be doing that. I will not be doing that. All right, well, if that is everything, we can get into fucking Ultraman.
Yes.
Can I grab a second Dr. Can a second Dr. Pepper hit the Brad?
Yeah. I'm so glad you stopped yourself from asking that in a completely normal way, mid-sentence.
Yeah, God forbid.
Yes, please go get the second Dr. Pepper.
All right. And then we could talk about Alien Terrorist. All
yeah.
Right,
yeah, I think things are very normal this week.
Things are so normal this week.
Okay, before we start the episode talk, I have an important Ultraman-related announcement to make.
Okay.
Rest in peace. Toru Fuyuki passed away December 26th of pneumonia at 89. He was a longtime composer for the Ultra series, including in the Showa era. We have enjoyed 2 previous show music by him, such as the Ultra 7 OP and one Matt theme.
That Matt theme's great.
Also, someone in the replies of the tweet where I saw the announcement on Crazy Ass Moments in Ultraman History mentioned that he's like co-wrote the Come On 7 theme as well. So, nice. Very important to
R.I.P.
this era of music.
Yeah.
That were, I guess maybe, I don't know how much he was involved with like later stuff, but like, those, at least those two shows he had a big impact on.
All right. Well, rest in peace. We are going to talk about fucking Ultraman Taro now. Where is my summary? Here I have summaries. Episode 38 is called The Ultra Christmas Tree, featuring Alien Miracle and Alien Terrorist.
Yeah.
That's when I saw that in the next time when I watched last week's episode, I was like, I have to wait a week for that.
Friendship ended with I can be your angel or your devil.
My new best friend.
Best friend.
We should have watched the 4 episodes that we accidentally scheduled for last week, so we could have had the Christmas episode 1 week early. For Alien Terrorist.
But then we'd miss all the New Year episodes as well. Basically, this whole thing is just like 1 week late. It's very funny.
Yeah.
While everyone else is getting ready to celebrate Christmas, one little girl called Hitomi is lonely. Her parents were killed in the fight between Taro and a kaiju, and she was saved by Alien Miracle. More on that later. Right now, she has nothing and no one. Please bear that in mind. She has nothing, she has no one. Okay. Starting with Moriyama, the cast of the show thinks about the matchstick girl, who saw her dreams in the flames of the matches she lit to keep herself warm. Hans Christian Andersen story, very popular in Japan. The cast like matches and see their ridiculous dreams in them. We will talk about them once I'm done. Our matchstick girl for today is Hitomi. Before the alien miracle left Earth, he gave her a little crystal ball through which she can see whatever she wants. I'm gonna be honest, it doesn't seem to do that. Kotaro looks into the ball and sees how Hitomi was orphaned. That doesn't seem like a nice dream. Hitomi explains that Alien Miracle is from a planet very similar to Earth, but a few centuries behind, and he wanted to see what the future of his planet could be by visiting Earth. He gave her the marble to assure her she could always see him. She's like, I can always see my uncle Alien Miracle. And then he looks through the marble and he sees Alien Miracle getting killed by Alien Terrorist. Alien Terrorist is like, you should spill the beans. He wants to come to Earth, and he's like threatening Alien Miracle, and it's like, you should tell me everything that I need to know about Earth. And Alien Miracle's like, no, I would never. And then Alien Terrorist kills Alien Miracle, and then Alien Terrorist is like, I knew everything anyway. And then Alien Terrorist comes to Earth, and Kotaro has to convince Hitomi not to rush into danger seeking revenge. She says she has nothing and no one. There's no point in going on. She has no one to give her Christmas presents. She has no one. Dear listener, no one. No one at all. Kenichi says he'll get her a present, and Kotaro says that he, an adult with a gun employed by the kaiju fighting organization ZAT, will do the avenging for you. Tiny child. She's like, okay, I guess that makes sense. Kotaro fights, turns into Taro, and is getting owned by the kaiju until Hitomi throws the marble at Alien Terrorist, defeating and freezing it, ready for Taro to explode it. This makes snow fall, and Taro even turns Tokyo Tower into a Christmas tree. Hitomi spends Christmas with the Saratoris, and then she says she's going to go live with the living grandparents that she's had the entire episode at the end. What were you doing out on the streets, little girl? What? Cheating.
Don't worry about it. When you were saying in the summary, she has no one, emphasizing over and over again, all my mind went to was Hitomi be like, oh, I am the very last Herald Mage. There is no one left but me.
There is no one left but her and her grandparents.
But they live like out in like the cold woods or whatever the fuck they say.
Maybe.
So like, who could say if they count or
Who
not?
Who could say? Anyway, yeah, how we feel about this episode?
Is this maybe the most racially fraught monster design we've gotten since that one that killed Pigmon?
I'm looking up. I don't think
so.
I think it's less direct than that, but certainly yes, it's along those lines.
I mean, it has a scimitar, and I'm pretty sure the head part is supposed to be like a turban.
The turban is very okay. I had not noticed the turban. This is true.
I didn't put it in my trivia, but I did see that like they considered bringing it back in the post 2000s, and was like, this might not fly in the post 2000s. Actually, maybe we should just shelve this monster.
Yeah, this is a good one to not bring back.
I googled alien terrorist, and one of the first top results is like a comparison image of alien spell and alien terrorist with the caption, "One of the two caused outrage." It's racist. Alien terrorist is racist, which is a shame. Because he's also kind of cool. He's like the sword stuff is fun. He is kicking Taro's ass. It is fun.
Him killing Miracle out on the dunes of that alien planet is actually kind of a sick shot.
It is. The dunes may be contributing to the image of alien terrorist. Alien terrorist is a kind of wild design. We are not pro alien terrorist here on this podcast, I would say.
Yeah, tune into that one episode of our Ultraman 60 season where I talk about Edward Said's Orientalism.
Yeah. That wasn't even for the episode about the racist kaiju for that season. There was a whole racism episode.
Yeah.
Special made for us. Special made for me after at the end of Ultra Q I said we should get a racist episode about the pyramids or something. I very specifically asked for it, and then it happened, and I was like, I'm sorry.
You manifested it.
I'm so glad that specifically the British host of our podcast who asked for that.
It seemed like an inevitability, and it was.
Red looking into the orb that gives them everything they want to see.
A disclaimer. I do not want the shows we watch to be racist, but I definitely think they're going to be frequently.
At least in this era.
At least I bet there's some racism in the future as well. I bet there is.
I didn't mention the guy in Ben-Hur who was just in brownface.
That's yeah. I mean, to be honest, that kind I expect that of that's
yeah,
like
just the times.
It's almost like default level of background racism. Yeah.
Like you watch Lawrence of Arabia, and it's like, oh, that's Obi-Wan Kenobi in brownface.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Not to mention actors who in those times kind of specialized in being like vague ethnicity wise and would play like everyone of like vaguely foreign as a special category of actor of the era. Anyway, this episode of Ultraman is I quite like. I think it's like it's all right. It's like not like great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought this was just kind of whatever. I do think the thing with the grandparents at the end really hurt my opinion on it because it did feel like a cop out.
It's cheating.
Yeah.
It's cheating.
The grandparents she had the whole time.
The whole time.
I think the stuff we get with like my parents died in a previous episode off screen because the destruction that these fights bring actually do cause harm. It was a nice touch.
I like that. We specifically get the turtle episode.
Mm-hmm.
In like episode 6 or so of Taro. That I liked having that as just like context.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool that the person who helps this little girl out in her time of need is an alien.
Yeah.
I think that's fun.
Yeah. We have not mentioned the most important. I did not mention the most important element of this episode, which is everyone's dreams for the future. This is like the bit that I'm like, this episode. This is the best thing I've ever seen in my life. We start with Moriyama. She looks into a match and she dreams this is the first I've heard of this. You're telling me this for the first time. Moriyama dreams of walking down the aisle like in wedding dress with Kotaro.
Well, you see, she's a female character and Kotaro is the protagonist. Therefore,
yes. Now, at first I was like, defaulting to this sucks. Is like a little silly. And then they kind of. Anyway, before we get there, then
You get my favorite
the
one.
Lieutenant Kitajima and Nambara all burn a match to get, or like 3 matches together, and they all look into the, and they're riding on like a 3-person bicycle. And I'm like,
In like
this
the
is
ugliest sweaters.
Yeah, as they say, heave ho.
In shorts.
In shorts. It's so good. I love these stupid guys.
And then they crash, and then as they break out of like the vision, they start to argue over whose fault it was that they crashed.
Yeah, they actually fall on the ground in real life.
Zat is the best. Zat is the best. Kotaro takes all this home. He's like talking to Saori, and Kenichi is like, what are your dreams? And Kenichi's like lights his match, and Kotaro looks into his lighter first, and he sees the mother of Ultra.
Yeah.
And they're like, wow, you dreaming about your mum? And he's like, yeah, I am dreaming about my mum. Kotaro impervious to your mum jokes. Kenichi dreams of like fighting Taro, playfully, and then Saori
normal human-sized Taro.
Normal human-sized Taro, absolutely, and Saori also has the exact same dream as Moriyama, and I'm like, well, this is shit. This is a cop out, and then it zooms out and reveals that on the other side of Kotaro is Moriyama.
Yeah, it's really good.
I was like, okay, I'm letting you off. I'm letting you off with this one. This one's fantastic.
Yeah, Moriyama being used to build up this punchline is good.
Yeah. I do like how she comes out of the vision, like, hitting his arm. Like, what the fuck's wrong with you? And he's like, what? What
did I do? Yeah, that's the highlight of the episode for me.
Yeah. I sure hope there isn't too much of a problem to clean up Tokyo Tower after Christmas.
Oh yeah, Taro's not cleaning that up.
No.
He fights kaiju. He doesn't clean up.
Also, I think it's funny that Hitomi gets like, last week we got, girls don't get Ultraman dolls, they get like French dolls, and this week she gets a French doll.
Yeah, she gets Kenichi gets her a doll. He's like, oh, you're gonna love this present, and then it's a doll, and I'm like, I was expecting something more like
it's like the toy manufacturers were like, okay, too many girls are buying these toys. You need to do something to correct people.
Why do the girls keep buying our Ultraman toys? We don't want that money.
Because it turns out this is a thing that toy manufacturers actually care about.
Wait, what?
For some reason.
I'd believe it.
I think I remember, like, because like the toy industry is so gendered strictly. I remember seeing like there was a show that I forget which one, but I saw like a tweet in the past year or so of like there was a show that got canceled because too many people of both genders were buying the toys.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Come on. Disgraceful. Who made this episode? Brad.
Oh no, where'd I put the book?
Mal, you go first.
There it is.
Brad has failed us.
Okay.
No, I got it.
Okay, Brad's back.
It's directed by Masanori Kake and then written by Shigemitsu Taguchi.
Thank you.
Okay. Special Effects Director Junoki. A Miracle is played by Dai Nagasawa and was designed by Takashi Shimazaki. I have to check if that's a guy I know eventually. I'm not going to do it now.
Okay.
But I forget if he's done kaiju designs yet.
Okay.
I got nothing on Alien Terrorist. No one wants to be associated with this guy. He's just a weird omission in terms of like who's playing him, who's designing.
Yeah. No one's looking. No one's doing investigations on that. Amnesty.
No.
Alien terrorist amnesty. All right. This episode is fun-ish. It's just kind of goofy. And then it doesn't really. It's trying to be a Matchstick Girl episode, and it kind of isn't.
It does just stop being that.
Yeah.
Very quickly.
Which is a little weird, especially because the marble does not show her dreams of things she wants. It doesn't show her that. It certainly doesn't show Kotaro that, and then it shows her uncle. It shows her Miracle getting killed, and I'm like, that doesn't seem like what the girl sees in the matches. That's okay. Little strange. This is an episode. We got better episodes this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of, although not, there's nationalism in this episode, but, it's a better episode. Episode 39, The Ultra Father and Son's Grand Mochi Making Plan, featuring Father of Ultra and Mortar Kaiju Mochiron. We reminisce that the traditional Japanese New Year celebration isn't something anyone cares about. New Year is for booze-loving grown-ups. Meanwhile, some kids from the...
Christmas is in style now.
Yeah. Meanwhile, some kids from the...
Something that Tsuburaya both approves of and laments, somehow.
Mm-hmm. True. New Year is for booze-loving grown-ups. Meanwhile, some kids from the Hakobe Children's Home are clearly very interested in one traditional Japanese New Year thing, delicious mochi. Kotaro takes pity on these kids and takes a mortar and hammer and rice to go make mochi with the children at the children's home. One kid says, "Wow, it looks like gum for kaiju," and another says, "Don't say that, a kaiju will come." Everyone laughs, and then a kaiju that looks like a mochi mortar flies in hanging from an air balloon, eats all the mochi, and then flies off to find more mochi. Important detail. Various old people react to his attacks with black and white photograph flashbacks to Japan getting bombed in the war.
Yeah.
This took me the fuck out the first time it happened. I was like, wasn't this a silly episode? What the fuck's happening here?
Yeah.
Late that night, Kotaro sees a piano float down from the sky being played by Yuko from Ace, and she's here to get her backstory extremely wrong. She explains that she's living on the moon right now, and this kaiju, Mochiron, is a child of the moon civilization and the imagination of Earth. It was a mochi mortar that came to life with the urge to eat mochi from, people thinking, imagining that there's mochi making on the moon or something. And that's dreams of Earth. Not Japan, or Earth. All of Earth.
Yeah.
The two go to meet Mochiron and persuade it to return to the moon. It says nah, finds out Kotaro is Taro and wants a fight. They sumo wrestle until it seems like Taro is going to destroy Mochiron, and Mochiron says, "No, if you kill me, the dark shadow on the moon will be gone, and you won't be able to do New Year moon viewings anymore." Yuko is like, "Yeah, what he said," but Taro doesn't seem to pay any attention to them. The father of Ultra intervenes, telling Taro to have mercy. He also scolds Mochiron for getting ideas above his station. He must return the mochi he stole. How? By being a mortar, of course. Taro and Giant Woman Yuko, Giant Woman Spotted, use Mochiron to make absurd amounts of mochi. When the morning comes, Kotaro is outside the children's home with a fuck ton of mochi for the kids. As everyone digs in and the Japanese New Year traditions are passed on, we get flashback black and white photographs of the wartime generation smiling with babies. The nation is in your hands now, children. The end.
Don't worry, next episode will also get aspects of Ace's backstory wrong.
This is a weird episode.
It is a weird one, but I did have fun with it.
It's weird. It's fun.
Yeah. I love this kaiju. I'll go for it.
I like Mochiron going to Karik on the countryside.
He does.
I don't know why
he does just roll around.
Yeah.
I don't know why he breathes fire.
They all breathe fire. They all breathe fire.
I like the nasty ass shot of the close up on his face as he's chewing up and spitting out all that glutinous rice.
And also baseballs.
And baseballs.
And he's like, wait a minute.
Which is when the old guy's like, this is just like the Bobbies.
He's flying in a blimp.
It's such a good entrance. I love this kaiju. I love Mochiron so much. What a cool kaiju.
He is definitely a standout of the kaiju we've seen so far.
I really like
it helps that he talks.
Yeah. He's a guy.
Yeah.
I like the obviously the fact that it's all of Earth and not just just Japan is a bit ridiculous because culture.
Yeah, when they were like, oh, it's the beliefs of Earth have turned it into a thing. It's like, I think Japan's one of the only places that has this, and I'm like, I think your empire fell. I'm pretty sure that happened. I don't think you're getting that back, mate.
Don't worry, they still have a couple colonies.
They still got a couple of colonies. Just No,
But,
well, an island, it's an island empire that isn't like named an empire anymore. Still has like a couple of like weird far out colonies for some reason. I've never heard of that.
Now, to be fair, Japan's colonies are actually pretty close. But
yeah, I mean we got Britain. That's just how Japan go. That's they didn't have anywhere far out to colonize.
Yeah. But that's I do like the idea of like the beliefs created this kaiju, and I think it's fun.
Yeah. So okay. So all of this episode is basically fun, and I had a good time. We have the elephant in the room. The one bit of like the whole Yuko retcon thing that I liked was the sudden backstory about the moon, and the moon, how the moon used to be a place where people lived, and now it's not. It's completely barren, and she can't have any romantic feelings about the moon in the way that anyone else does, because it's fucking empty. It's a lump of rock where nothing lives. That's gone. That has been erased entirely. Yeah,
it's kind of replaced with like a conventional story of like the Lunarian civilization as a thing that exists, but you can't see it.
Yeah.
Which I think is weak, but I also think it shows they don't care.
They just...
you know what's fucked?
Yeah?
The subs that I was watching just said Yoko the whole way through, and Ace has left my brain so hard that I was just like, yeah, that's correct.
Whoa.
I also think it's funny, her specific line was, I used to work with Ace. And I'm like, that's one way of putting it. That's one way of phrasing it.
In the end, the character got the better deal. The actor did not.
Yeah. I do have to ask what Taro thinks of the fact that Minami and his dad seem to be in some sort of relationship.
they listen. Sometimes the father of Ultra. Sometimes the father of Ultra needs to step out. Needs some variety in his life. Is
he and Mother separated? I don't
think they're separated. I think Mother of Ultra knows about this.
Is this just a case of like the absent father has a bit of a fling while he's like
I think he has. Yeah, there's an affair going on. I think Mother of Ultra probably knows about it, but doesn't want to shake up the family. That kind of thing. And
Taro's just like, oh yeah, your good friend who I always see, Yuko.
Yeah. All the stuff.
And Ace is like, hey, what's up with that? Don't worry about it. I do like her coming down on the piano. That's very fun.
Yeah, this episode is just full of just goofy shit.
Saori's just like, hey, Kotaro, what are you looking at? Oh, piano. And she's like, what?
Yeah.
What the fuck do you mean a piano? There's no piano up there. I hear it. I see it. It comes out playing like Moonlight Sonata or something. And I also really like the scene where she's explaining what's happening to Kotaro, as like she just kind of hovers past a wire fence, and
she phases through a fence and talks to him through the fence.
And they're kind of walking.
Yeah. He's like gripping the fence, walking along with it, but she's just gliding, floating. It's great.
I will say, I was a little bit bummed when she was like, don't even transform into Taro, it's gonna make him mad. Let's just go and let's talk to him. And then they like spin around him for a little bit and then they chat, and I was just like, oh, this is really fun. But then he ends up transforming and fighting anyways, and I was like, oh, we were so close.
Unfortunately, you do
that.
Just have to get the obligatory, or the kids will get mad.
The obligatory fight is good this week, is the thing. Yeah. The sumo wrestling stuff is fun. I'm a big fan. Now, is the origin point of this being an episode with it's like they do sumo wrestling? Is the origin point of that this is like the most nationalist episode of Ultraman Taro yet? Absolutely.
It is funny that like the whole episode last time, which also had Minami and Father of Ultra was also kind of nationalist in its own way, but also more critiquing it, kind of.
It was like it was literally the other way around. It was like the kaiju.
Yeah.
So there was a kaiju, and then there was an alien that had summoned the kaiju, yelling, "We have to destroy the Christianization of Japan!" And then Ultraman obliterated that alien and was like, "No, Christianization of Japan for the win is good. We like that." And then this episode is like, the kids, they don't want to do like Christianization of Japan, good, but traditions. Nonetheless, we need they want a synthesis between the traditions and the Christian.
Well, it's Christianization of Japan, is specifically of Japan.
Yeah,
the children yearn for the ability to be excited for January again.
Yeah,
as the start of this episode highlights.
Yeah, it's kind of, they want this. They want the situation where like, countries have both Jesus and Krampus. They want that, but for New Year. And this whole thing where it's like, we're past the flashbacks to the bombing of Japan, fucking crazy. And then the whole like, when the kids finally engage in like traditional New Year stuff, it's like, the nation has been passed on. We have entrusted them with the nation. You, child watching this program, it's up to you to save Japan from the erosion of our nation.
And also, too, specifically, I do think it's worth noting that, like, a big crux of the start of this episode is main character guy going, I am going to bring tradition to the orphanage by going and doing this because the people who run it are too old and can't make these anymore. Like, there's, like, a degree of, like, it's up to the new generation to uphold the values of what came before and make sure it doesn't disappear, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I hope those kids look forward to the bubble economy in like a decade.
Oh yeah, they're gonna have a great time for a bit.
Yeah, for a bit.
Yeah,
just a bit,
just a little bit, and then it's gonna be bad.
Yeah,
it's gonna be real bad.
Paris Accords.
Yeah, they're gonna get some lavishly animated mech anime.
Yeah.
Yeah. No Ultraman during that time, though. Yeah, we also the really extended sequence of like Taro pounding Mochi and then Yuko using her hands while Father Ultra watches. It's not an interesting shot, but it does feel weird, especially because they go over like they're hammering in the nationalism. There's got the hammering, huh?
Lol.
You got the
You can't do this 2 weeks in a row.
I want to develop the Gigi Marin response to people doing a pun, a pun, which is you laugh and keep laughing for way too long, until eventually someone stops you. Yeah, that's our chaser.
That one I realized after saying it. But yeah, hammering in the nationalism, you got like a distinctly like traditional sounding song while Taro picks the Mochi.
Mm-hmm.
It is just kind of awkward the way Father Ultra's like watching this punishment get doled out.
Yeah. Giant woman.
Yeah, Yuka doesn't need to be Ultraman.
Essential.
She can just turn big.
Just turn big. Yeah, she's just magic now. It helps for the affair with Father of Ultra. It would be really inconvenient otherwise. Anyway,
she's like, I've been in Zoffi's hand. I want something like that in our arrangement.
Here's Zoffi.
Here's Zoffi.
Yeah, who made this episode? If I had my way, if we were done, I would use that to segue into the next episode. Can't. Who made this episode?
This episode was directed by Eizo Yamagiwa and then written by Toshiro Ishido, which honestly, from what we know of both of them, makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
Do you know? Do you remember who did the Christmas episode of Ace? That was the animation.
No. I can look it up real fast.
Look it up while I give my stuff. Soundtrack director is Masataka Yamamoto, and Motron is again designed by Takashi Shimazaki, who I'll have to look up.
Well, what do you know? It's the exact same people.
Oh, okay. Guys. They're like, no, not like that.
Do you think they went out for drinks after and then they're like started talking about it? They're like, fuck, maybe we've got to correct next year.
What happened? They made the episode for like Christmas and then it aired and they were really pleased with themselves, and then New Year came and they were like, oh, New Year sucks now. It's not like it used to be. We gotta fix this.
Yeah.
Anyway. Mel.
This was just a year apart. Like, this was 73.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a year apart. This is the next Christmas.
Yeah, that's why all this stuff is like so wild, especially with like this stuff. You know, I mentioned last week with like Yuko and the Ace stuff. It's just like we're just a year out for this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it's like
God, that's right. I didn't even think about that. That's ridiculous. I wouldn't have come back. I would have told them to fuck off.
Yeah. Actually, this reminds me. I actually was spoiled on the fact Minami comes back at some point in the show. And the reason for that is because when I was doing the research for the Minami Leaves episode of Ace, in her personal blog, when she's talking about the boat episode, because if you remember, she went through the parts of the show. She went on her blog. She talked about the show episodes of that she was on.
Yeah.
And when she mentions the boat episode, first of all, she mentions why am I not in this episode that we talked about. But second, she recalls an anecdote of because the boat guy Shinoda becomes Kotaro. She recalls reuniting with him this episode, and just like the friendly reunion, and then like Kotaro's actor just trying to joke, oh, well, I guess our roles are reversed now because I'm Ultraman this time, and she thought it was she liked that.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's just that was some fun. That was some fun recollections from her actress years.
Yeah. I do generally like how Yuko is actually like used here in this episode. This is like as far I think having Yuko as like a character that can show up means that when Ace shows up as Hokuto, I'm like, yeah, that's Hokuto. That's him. That's the Ace took him. But
it's really cool how he isn't even in this episode, and she just gets to help out. Help out, I guess. She's there for the. They do what they love to do best during the final part of it, where she's very hands off with the actual fight.
She's hands off. She's hands on with Mochi.
Yeah.
I do like she speaks in this one, which was not the case the last time she showed up.
Oh yeah, she rocked up in the because Father of Ultra's like, we got to keep a low profile, you and me, and don't speak, don't say a word. Maybe no one will notice. Yeah, everyone immediately notices.
I'm now associating the Father of Ultra with dying and Christmas. That's the only times he shows up.
The only things he does.
Yeah.
He's the absent father to Taro, while Mother of Ultra is like the present mother.
Exactly.
And fighting fucking alien imperialism or whatever the fuck that guy's name is.
Alien Emperor. N-E-M-P-E-R something.
Yeah.
Emperor.
It's Emperor, yeah.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with the one that was going to be that.
Alien Tempera, yeah.
Who comes from Brittany.
Comes from Brittany.
Yeah.
Stupid. Yeah, this is, I like this episode. I like this episode a lot.
It's really fun.
It definitely feels like Taro Core.
Absolutely.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely.
I was going to say, like, I think in terms of the, like, let's have a silly time of things sort of stuff that they're going for, I think they nail it with this one. I wish we had more kaiju like this that are just goofy guys that talk and, like, he's causing devastation, but it's because he's just really hungry. And like he's open about that, and it's like a spoiled brat child running around causing havoc more than like a monster.
Yeah,
I think that's really fun.
He throws a tantrum and gets punished for it like a child. And
yeah, it's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm a fan of this. I am a fan of this episode. Do we have anything more to say? I'll go for it.
I like how the like father's also like, yeah, okay, Mochiron, you gotta give back all the mochi you ate, and Mochiron's like, I ate it. What do you want me to fucking do?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we have anything more to say about this episode? Anything at all? Last call. Going once, going twice, going 3 times. Sold. Episode 40. Episode 40 is called Surpass the Ultra Brothers, featuring 35 kaiju and aliens. No, it doesn't. That's cheating.
Tell me, Red.
Yeah?
Do you recall this episode?
Do I recall this episode?
Yes.
I do recall this episode. Am I missing something?
It's the thing the narrator says every single time he's about to go into the thing you're about to talk about.
Oh, right. Yes. The kaiju tyrant beats the ultra. This is going to be. I'm going to warn you now. This is going to be a very, very brief summary.
There's so many kaiju in this episode.
The world's first franchise recap episode.
Yeah, the kaiju tyrant beats the ultra. They should have included Jun. The kaiju tyrant beats the Ultra Brothers one by one as it approaches Earth from the outer planets of the solar system. Every time he fights, we get stats on the Ultras and a recap of some of their most iconic fights.
Sorry, this implies June would have been on fucking Pluto.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where. Yeah, he's out
they
there.
Were ahead of the curve. They were ahead of the curve and realizing that Pluto was not a planet.
They were. But the one thing I'll briefly say is the comparisons. The comparison between what is an iconic fight for each Ultraman is very funny. I'm like,
I think we have disagreements.
We have some disagreements. 2, this show has been so flattering to Ultra 7 compared to everyone else.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, it's the new year and Kotaro is out flying kites with Kenichi when he spots a kid trying and failing to ride a bike. His name is Takeshi, and he's an only child. I missed an "and" there, and so I wrote "he's only child."
He is only child.
He's an only child, and he's like Kotaro, and he's going to show everyone that he can do this on his own. And Kotaro decides to help him learn to ride a bike, and a few times Takeshi is on the verge of giving up. Kotaro encourages him every time. Eventually, Saori shows up and tells Kotaro that he's been getting emergency calls from Zat this entire time. A dangerous kaiju is on its way to Earth. Kotaro finally notices an ultra signal in the sky and is like, oh shit, this one beat all my older brothers? Alright, gotta go fight, I guess. Takeshi is like, oh, you're in Zat? And Kotaro says, yes, I have to have courage. You know what else takes courage? Learning to ride a bike. Kotaro runs off, turns into Taro, and fights Tyrant on Earth. The fight is intercut with scenes of Kenichi helping Takeshi learn to ride his bike. Taro defeats Tyrant as Takeshi gets the hang of it. Later, Kotaro congratulates Takeshi, and Takeshi rides off to see his mother. Kotaro looks on in approval of the love between mother and son. The end.
Okay, to clarify, the narrator goes, oh, do you recall Ultraman before coming into the recap?
Oh, he does say that. That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you
and he does this
Ultraman?
for every single guy.
Do you recall Ultra 7? Do you recall Shin Man?
Yeah.
He calls him Return of Ultraman this time,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Do you recall
this?
this guy is Return of Ultraman?
Yeah.
They gotta come up with a name for this guy.
Yeah, I wonder when they'll do that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously Shin Man, but
Yeah, Shin Man. That's him.
Yeah.
It was via this episode that I found out that the episode where Hideki tries to strangle a child is a birthday present to me. It was aired on my birthday. It was aired on the 5th of November.
Oh.
Thank you very much, Return of Ultraman.
Nice.
I will cherish this eternal birthday gift.
like as I alluded to, this episode gets aspects of Ace backstory wrong. Because
so I wasn't paying too much. I was kind of, when it was doing like recap stuff about the Ultras, I
started to tune
I was
out
like,
really
I'm
hard.
not, I'm looking at my phone right now.
Well, you see, it's because they say that the Vericon fright was in 1972. Well, so we all know.
We all know that's incorrect.
It was 3 years before. 3 years before.
Precisely.
Do you want to know the genuinely funniest fucking thing from the bad subs I was using for this?
Yeah.
All of the dates were like 42. And I was like, how the fuck did they do that?
That's dumb.
Like, ridiculous.
Yeah,
How did they manage that?
I'm sure you guessed correctly, like, that's supposed to be 72.
Oh, like immediately, I was like, this is a mistake.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was funny. They also do say at some point, like, they say Shin Man, but then at some point during this too, they also go, and then this is when Return of Ultraman fought, so, like, using it as if it was just his name.
Yeah. The fact that
ridiculous.
The fact that they're inconsistent in the fact they switch back and forth in the same show is really funny.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I learned from this recap, though?
What did you learn?
Helpfully? Pigman, popular with the ladies.
That screenshot of him dead with the fucking...
Hold on, let me scroll up. Was the exact thing that says...
yes, September 4, 1966, Pigmon, who was popular among the girls, died.
It is funny, they're just like, oh yeah, these episodes happen on the date they aired. It just seems...
this is another thing. Because they, I especially took note of the 5th of November one, and I was like, that episode takes place over several days. This is not how it works.
These being weekly occurrences for them would suck. It would be the worst job of all time.
Yeah.
Can you imagine having to deal with shit like this every week?
A monster every week?
Monster every week.
Remember the finale of Ultra 7.
You fought Ultra 7. You fought a dangerous kaiju every week for a year. You're dying.
I also want to highlight the fact that none of these planets are like that.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
I know that Mars isn't a reddish hellscape that looks kind of volcanic in nature.
That's honestly the least egregious one.
I use Ultraman to teach me science. I hope you know that.
Yeah. Like, the fact that all the gas giants are, like, clearly rocky surfaces.
Yes.
Not to mention that Uranus is orange instead of, like, cyan or blue.
Yeah, listen. It's just, just, you got destiny rules. Right? The planet is like it's like Earth now. It's like an Earth terrain now.
Also, two funniest things from like these, Ultraman recap stuff.
Mm-hmm.
One, during the Shin Man section, he recaps Bemstar. And it's like, oh, Bemstar eats all the oil and stuff. If a kaiju like that showed up today, it'd cause a lot of problems. And like, Bemstar was in this show.
Oh, right. Yeah, Bemstar showed up in Taro.
Yeah.
In that episode.
They even used footage from that episode of Return of Ultraman.
Oh my gosh.
In that episode.
See, I thought that was like a tongue-in-cheek little reference to like the ongoing global oil stuff.
Yeah, but the fact that like I'm sure it was, but the fact that like Bemstar was in the show,
did do that.
Yeah, is just goofy. And second, I do like the Tyrant seems to take extra sadistic pleasure in beating up Ace, which I enjoyed.
Oh, naturally. I mean,
can I say
heard what Ace does to kaiju?
The names this batch have been very uncreative.
Oh, Takeshi?
Okay, so yeah, we've got...
No, like Tyrant, Terrorist, Miracle, like...
Alien Miracle, Alien Terrorist, Mochiron, which is just Mochi with Ron on the end. And Tyrant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Mochirat, I think, is kind of fun in like a way, but the other ones, I'm just like, are you out of gas? What's happening?
Yeah, I'm waiting.
Did Bemstar show up?
Waiting for them to get like real creative, good names again, like Noisler.
Absolutely.
the fucking
Noisler. The Noisler. It's the noise. You got to take the Noisler seriously.
Yeah.
Let me look up Ultraman. I need to look at Tyrant. I think Tyrant's cool.
Yeah, actually, Cross Data sent me pictures of Tyrant yesterday because they were like, yeah, they like it.
I like how they're like, oh, it's made up. Did they say like it's made up of the parts of like 6 monsters, and then they like go through like 2 or 3, and then they're like, oh, we're gonna give up when you figure out the rest on your own.
This is really highlight Barabbas, which is like the dinosaur kaiju from the Golgotha episode, the Crucifix in Ace. They say Seagrath's head and Bemstar's.
I can see Seagrath.
Yeah,
but I don't know the others. I didn't care to keep track.
How does this fucker do anything? It has no hands.
It hurts things. That's all it do.
Looking at his legs, I want to say it's maybe Red King legs, but I don't know.
I think they're Red King legs, right?
Ooh, because they look like corn. Red King.
Yeah, it's got that corn texture we've come to know and love.
Yeah. I like this kaiju. I think it is cool to have a kaiju just wrecking the Ultraman. Just one by one.
I think it's really funny that they all like try and send a signal, and then Tyrant's just like nah, and just erases it.
Yeah, it just like it does a really comical little noise on it. Okay, I have not played many games in UFO 50, but I have played a substantial amount of ping golf, which was the first game I played in UFO 50, and it is a golf game where it's got like it's like a puzzle golf game. It's got like crazy golf stuff. And the sound effects are perfect. There's like this perfect sound effect that it makes when you hit a surface and your ball just falls into nothing. And it kind of reminded me of that whenever like they're struggling and they throw up the Ultra sign, and then Tyrant just like shoots a little thing at it and it just goes boing out of existence. It's perfect.
I appreciate the sequence because it gives us the narrator saying that the unbeatable Zoffy has been beaten.
Yes.
Which I'm like, we've seen that already
in
this show. In this show.
By a fucking bird.
I'm gonna tell you, when I Google Tyrant, Ultraman Taro Tyrant, one of the top results, again, who can defeat Taro? A chimera kaiju created from the spirits of several other kaijus and has defeated 5 of the Ultra Brothers? Or bird?
Yeah.
I'm a Tyrant fan. I think this episode is real stupid, but I did have a nice time.
It's going to be used out of context to cancel us.
It is funny.
Day.
It is funny on what?
My brain switched gears, and I was going to make a joke about Syracuse, but...
That's extremely you.
Yeah. Anyway, it is funny that Kotaro is like, wakes up on vacation. It's like, yeah, I'm just going to leave my communicator at home.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, good for him.
Yeah, except for when it becomes a problem. But I guess it's not much of a problem, honestly. Like,
right. It would be a problem. Here's the thing. It would be a problem for Zat if they knew he was Taro. But they don't know he's Taro. So why aren't they letting him have his vacation?
Oh, well, all hands on deck.
The captain is on some sunny beach somewhere with his feet up. He's got sunglasses on.
Well, yeah, he's got
a fancy cocktail, and he's like, "This is the fucking life." He's chilling out with those turtle kaiju on that beach.
Yeah.
He came back 1 week because the lieutenant wasn't in, and now he's fucked off again.
Also, I am convinced that Kenichi is just clearly better at teaching a kid to ride a bike than Kotaro.
He is. There was like one bit in this episode where Kotaro actually gave like real advice on riding a bike, and I was like, "What? Hang on, what? That's not what I was expecting." Kotaro is like actually has like practical advice instead of just saying you just have to try again. And it's only once, and then the rest of the time is like you have to have courage.
Like
And Kenichi's around for 5 minutes, and it's fine.
Yeah, he just gets
Also,
beat up and thrown in a puddle, and it's like, geez, I would also hate learning how to ride a bike.
as someone who spent like an afternoon helping my my nephew get a hold of this, he did not pick the most ideal of locations. Don't have him ride right into a puddle. What are you doing? That's so mean.
Oh yeah, on the weekend I also met like my niece, kind of my cousin's daughter, and she was very cute. She was playing with my mom, and it was very cute how attached she got to my mom.
Aww. I've been seeing like too much of my family recently, including my nephew, who I'm like, yeah, you're great, and then he hangs out forever, and I'm like, you know what, you're great. I'm small doses.
See, this is the good part about having like a nephew or a niece is like they're not your responsibility.
Exactly.
You get to duck out.
I can just absent myself and just go, nah, not my problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is like a weird episode. It's like a franchise recap for some reason. To build heat for a kaiju that's getting beaten in this episode.
Yeah, like I made a comment last night where I was like, oh, maybe we should have watched 4 this week, because my assumption was this would be a 2-part, and then it wasn't, and I deleted the message because like, well, I don't need this comment here actually. It makes no sense now.
Lol.
I feel that this episode was strictly. I feel like this may be the first episode we've gotten that I feel comfortable saying is strictly for like consumerist economic reasons. Yeah. Because this is entirely, oh, hey, we have these other guys in the show a lot, but there's also probably kids that are young enough, or just like, they weren't watching, or they don't remember. Because that is another thing too, is like kids, if they watched it young enough, they might not remember like watching episodes of original Ultraman or Ultra 7 or whatever.
Yeah, not in the, every show is everyone's first. Some kids are like, may have still been too young to watch Ace or Return, even though it was like 2 years ago. And of course, there's all the kids who weren't even born when 7 and Ultraman aired. So,
yeah,
and also saves money.
Listen, they were like, oh, we got 35 kaiju and aliens coming up, and I was like, do you?
And
really?
Like, is this going to be like the canceled episode of Ultra 7? But no, it's just a recap.
No, we're recapping some iconic. Okay, any particular ones spring out to you as not deserving their status as iconic enough for this recap?
I do think it's funny. They specifically chose the second Bolton fight.
Yes,
and not the cool one.
That was wild.
I disagree. I know why they put the Guts one, so I'm not going to argue against that one for Ultra 7. But they didn't put Panda on at all, which is crazy.
No. The choice of Metron, obviously, I'm like, well, yes, naturally.
It's funny. In the recap for Ace, they were like, oh yeah, he defeated Yapul, but Yapul wasn't dead, and it just cuts off. And it's like, oh, I guess the show ended there.
Oh yeah. Man, the Yapul kaiju is actually kind of fun. Like, it's cool. Yeah. It's like big and spiky. I was just getting flashbacks to when we were in that period of Ultraman Ace. I was like, wow, this is like weird and surprising, and like I feel like I like this. And then it betrayed me.
I have one for I'm so happy this isn't here, and one then like fuck off, who cares?
Yeah.
Mine is the Return of Ultraman, like Kingosaurus the Third, whatever the fuck. Like, who cares? It's just a dinosaur. The one that I'm like, thank you for getting this in here was Dinosaur Tank.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Toru narrator watching the episode. Dinosaur tank
throwing
comes up.
throwing a beer can at the TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did it to spite me.
I think like there were some really weird ones in return. Thankfully, we had Kingstron, who is correct to be included.
Yeah,
but it was also...
I mean, I feel like we've covered this before. I do feel like Return is definitely where we start to, because partially probably because we lose that Naruto, not probably because we lose that Naruto focus. We do just get a lot of dinosaurs in a row.
Yeah.
They had Twin Tail though, who is like iconic for cultural reasons.
They got some bangers in there for sure.
I just opened the episode again and saw they had for Return of Ultraman Pluma, who was a kaiju I forgot existed, and I was like, "Oh, this guy."
Well, that's because Pluma is the kaiju in the episode with the evil child.
Oh, right.
No one we do not care about the kaiju that episode. We care about the evil child.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think the one that I saw like show up in like the Ultra 7 thing where they're going like, yeah, Ella King fight, and then it's like Metron fight, and then it's like Gayron. Was it Grayron? Garon? What's the big bird?
Starbam Garon.
That's the one.
Gayron.
And then Dinosaur Tank. And then, Guts is like, whatever. But like that series of 4, I was like, this is just bangers.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, we don't care for the Guts one, but it is obviously iconic for a reason.
It's just iconic. It's iconic. It's just bad. It's just bad.
Yeah. Can't believe they killed Wyndham for that.
They did.
Yeah.
They did. Poor Wyndham. I can't believe it's called Wyndham.
Me watching Twin Peaks.
Me having Wyndham kebab.
I was about to say, no one's gonna get that here. I don't think actually.
No.
They introduce a Code Geass, evil FBI sicko rival to the main character when Twin Peaks gets banned, and his name is Wyndham Earl. Yes,
I forgot his last name is Wyndham.
No, his first name's Wyndham. His name is Wyndham Earl.
Wyndham Earl, yeah. He leaves like a tarantula trap.
Twin Peaks
is something.
One of my favorite things ever, but oh my god.
Who made this episode?
This episode was, every time I've put the book down in a place where I forget where I've put it, but this was made by Eizo Yamagiwa and Shigemitsu Taguchi again.
So director on my end, Masataka Yamamoto. Yoshio Suzuki designed Tyrant and also had some influence on which kaiju got included in the amalgamation.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Do we have anything more to say about this? Is maybe like the most weirdly kind of sparse episode of Ultraman Taro there is, just because there's like one little plot in it about a kid learning to ride a bike. And it's very brief. And then the rest of it is recap and a fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one felt like it was constructed in a group meeting room of being like, we need to remind the kids about why the other guys are cool so that they buy the toys and they get excited when they show up in future stuff. That's all this feels like. Yeah.
I feel like we got blood from the stone more than we expected because this conversation actually went longer than I thought, but
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
cute.
as an object, it has broader implications that I do think are interesting, but like as a story in a TV show, it sucks ass.
Yeah, rip. In which case, we're done talking about fucking Ultraman this week. Mel, do you have any color timers?
Yeah, the thing I forgot to do last week, apparently.
Yeah, do you want to do color timers for last week? You know what I was going to do right at the start of the episode and I completely fucking forgot? Was I was going to ambush you immediately and say, what were the color timers for last week? like I was it's like a boss who'd been gone for a week and came back to find a mess in the office.
Yeah.
After the yam incident.
After the yam incident. I was choking on yams the whole time.
Yeah. I will say in response to that, you sent fucking that video of people talking in the dark history English or whatever the fuck it's called.
Black Country. The Black Country accent.
Yeah.
The
Why is it
Yam
called
Yams.
that?
Okay, because of like certain. It's either because of like a contraction, the way that they say like I am yam, or it's like a particular part of like dialect, to do with it. But also Black Country in return, it like I believe it's people from the Black Country that invented, because they get named yam yams by like Brummies, people from Birmingham, and then I think it's like in return. It's the Black Country that named people from Birmingham Brummies, because it's like it's a little bit ye olde.
No, I want to know why it's called Black Country.
It is called it's coal mining.
Okay.
It is like this is I'm getting slightly involved. This is like West Midlands business. I'm East Midlands.
Okay. Anyway, you want the color timers?
Yeah, tell us about the color timers.
Okay. Episode...
Wait, R.
Huh?
What?
That according to Wikipedia, that's yes in Black Country dialogue.
Oh, okay.
Anyway. Episode 35, 3 minutes 21 seconds. Episode 36, 2 minutes 55 seconds. Episode 37, 3 minutes 55 seconds. No,
nice.
3 minutes 57 seconds. Then this week, episode 38, 4 minutes 22 seconds. Episode 39, 4 minutes 14 seconds. And Father of Ultra gets 5 minutes 19 seconds. Episode 40, 1 minute 18 seconds. Zoffy gets 40 seconds. Ultraman gets 1 minute 1 second. Shinman gets 44 seconds. Ace gets 1 minute 2 seconds. And Mother Ultra gets 9 seconds. Also,
damn.
Giant woman counter goes up by 1. We got 9 now.
We got a giant woman.
Also, we didn't confirm. Is it a medical miracle last week or not?
What was the potential medical miracle from last week?
The old man is said to have died from a heart attack, but was actually kept in like stasis by the.
I'm gonna make the call. Why am I'm not the master of the medical miracle. I'm not.
You made the
in
call
charge.
in the summary, but
I didn't make that call in the summary. That was injected.
You said hit the button.
I didn't say that.
Was that
Brad added that to the summary.
I probably injected.
Oh, okay. I assume because
Brad
the summary.
added. There was a use of my summary to try to push through a medical miracle without due scrutiny.
And I hit the button even.
You hit the button, yeah.
I feel like I'm about to get executed.
I had to add it to the episode. I was sleepy. No, it's I'm gonna go no on medical miracle. I think you did both say probably not a medical miracle.
Yeah.
I think not a
I don't
miracle.
think it counts.
Okay, so we are still at 17 for that then.
We might be over the medical miracle phase. I think it's
it might have,
like we rub up against
you know
it.
what? Don't worry, it happens at the end of Ben-Hur.
Excellent. Good to know.
Yeah. Anyway, I got the run back for Return of Ultraman.
Go for it.
Koichi Takano was special effects director for the first 10 episodes. Takong, suit actor, is Takanobu Toya. Sculpted by Nobuyuki Yasamaru. The designer, Norishi Ikea, designed it, covered in suction cups, thinking the kaiju would roll around like a ball, which it did not do. Then we got Zarzan, which is a seaweed monster, also from episode 1, suit actor Eiji Kikuchi. During development, it was called Hedorah, like the concurrently developed and released Hedorah from Godzilla. And was also inspired by pollution. Apparently, Spectre-Man also had a kaiju around the same time called Hedoron, so I guess that was just a thing in the air. They simply gave a seaweed motif to distinguish it from Coronia from Ultraman 66, the goofy plant monster in a suit. Astron, suit actor Takanobu Enya, who got the role after the original guy, seemed to just be bad at his job. They're like, yeah, you're impressive. So they got this new guy instead. Also, all 3 kaiju suits from episode 1 were made at Toho's studios, but they had to be remodified and rebuilt at Kaione Productions because they were too difficult to move around in. Then we got Sadala, suit actor Takenova Toya, sculpted by Kaime Productions. Apparently, during the broadcast of Taro, this show they're on, the original Sadala suit was divided into 20 pieces, and each piece became a prize for kids to win in a magazine lottery.
This sounds like the premise of an Ultraman episode where things go horribly bad for everyone involved.
Yeah.
Unhinged, they did this, to be honest.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I wonder if someone still has their piece somewhere. Then we got Deton, the scuffed Telesdon suit actor Kunimaru Oseki. Kanosaurus III, suit actor Takenova Toya. Gudon, also suit actor Takenova Toya. The head mold will later be used for an alien in Silver Mask. Twin Tail suit actor is uncredited. There's only a surname given, Morihei, in a book by Eiichi Kikuchi about that. Suit actor apparently had to sit inverted so they could bend forward and backwards better. So presumably, I guess their actual head on the head and they're moving their legs for the body, which sounds uncomfortable.
Yeah, every time we get details like that, they're like, this sounds like such a miserable job. Like, being inside. Like, I'm sure it's fun, depending on the suit, but a lot of the times it just sounds really uncomfortable and hot.
Yeah. Also, for both Takong and Twin Tail, Akeo wanted to try and get the goal of, like, you couldn't see that a suit actor was in there. Which, is more obvious with a fucking dinosaur.
Yeah.
Gorpagos, the rainbow gay paint rock guy, Ghostron, Dangar, and Stegos were all suit actors Takenova Toya. Incidentally, also with Stegos, Akea used it as a similar kind of kaiju as Sibozu, just because it's another skeletal dinosaur kaiju. Stegos was also sculpted by Takayama, Ryosaka Takayama, and they later repurposed the kaiju for another kaiju in Emergency Directive 10-4-10-10. And that's all the roundup for this week.
Nice.
That's 1/3 of the roundup I have to do for Eternal Flame.
All right. Cool. So, do we have any emails?
Yes, we have at least one. Let me check. Okay, we got one from Crusader. Hello, Ultra Pod. Crusader here. Before I'd seen much of the older Ultra series, this is one of the episodes I had that was a window to those previous entries. So I guess, as Brad suggested, there's an aid there.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
I find it excuse me. Find it really funny today that Toru Naruto was proven wrong, even in the 70s, with how much of a banger design Dinosaur Tank was.
The dinosaur tank is simply very cool.
Yeah.
Similarly, episode 39 was my first introduction to Minami Yuko from Ace.
That is also funny.
Back to episode 40, one thing that, upon watching Ace and for the first time, is that Kaiju Tyrant is made up of various aliens, Kaiju and Choju, some of which look like they come from Alien Icarus, Red King, Bemstar, Baraba, Seekrath, King Crab, and for some reason, Hansagirin, who I forgot, which applies after Tax seals them inside the cave it died when it reformed as Tyrant. That's the Salamander one.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Also, I just remember one of the Ultra 7 ones was the fucking weird bat kaiju that made the clones for Hashi and Amagi.
Oh, yes.
That's not a banger episode. A weird one to include in there.
Yeah. Not iconic to us.
No. And then they say, I hope you all enjoy the rest of Taro.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm having a good
We
time.
have 4 more weeks.
Even when it's mid, it's stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I appreciate.
I wonder how I feel about this compared to Return.
Put that on the back of your Blu-ray box for Ultraman Taro. Put that quote, read from Ultra Q. Even when it's mid, it's stupid. The highest praise I can give.
I think it'll. I don't even know at this point. I feel like they'd have to go really hard on the ending for me to feel a difference. But right now, I feel like this is This is probably below Return for me, just because I think Return hits on more of
Yeah.
what I like about Ultraman in terms of
Mhm.
character stuff and some of the more serious bits. But I think Taro is a perfectly fun show.
Yeah, my thing is like, I think Return has some more of that spicy sauce that we like, but
Yeah.
Taro is just more consistent and executes
Yeah.
what it does well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the main dividing line. But they're definitely on the same tier, I think, in terms of they'd rank.
What do they do for Leo? What do you... Okay, what do you... Okay, we are in charge of plan. It is the year 19, whatever this year is. We are in charge of planning Leo.
Yeah.
Where do we go? What do we do?
Kids like this show a lot. We double down on the crossover stuff, maybe make it too complex for its own good.
That seems like
causing
a
the
great
franchise
idea.
Causing the franchise to go into a slumber for a little bit as we try to figure out what the fuck we did wrong.
That seems like a
That's my
fantastic
theory.
idea. And then Ultraman 80's a banger.
Yeah, which is why it's the only Ultraman of the 80s.
This is a really weird thing to say because I know that there are reasons why some of the 90s Ultraman can only be put out in the West on DVD and not Blu-ray. But Ultraman 80 is the one show I have on DVD and not Blu-ray from this
Yeah.
era. And in my brain, there's part of me that's like, it's because nobody gives a fuck about this one. But also, I like a lot of shows nobody gives a fuck about, so who could say?
Yeah, we'll see.
We will see.
Yeah. So it's called Ultraman 80 because there's 80 of them, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing to do with the year of release.
Mhm.
Yeah, I have a vague sense of what Leo will be, but I'm curious how they execute it. I'm just gonna keep that to myself. But
What if it's where they get really deep into astrology?
Oh, because he's Leo? Oh, presumably,
Yeah,
presumably because they already have that in Ultraman, don't they? They have the signs.
Yeah.
The star
why
signs
do you
are
think
different
he's
aliens.
called Leo?
He's called Leo because he's related to the star sign.
That, but also I feel like they'll have some fun lion-themed stuff. Maybe he's the prideful Ultra that needs to get humbled a little bit.
Maybe he's like a new dad of Ultra. Because there's like lions have like a head guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Patriarch, that's the word.
Mufasa apparently in theaters now,
Yeah, apparently.
losing to Sonic.
Maybe he refuses to date women after they get a certain age.
So he's against cougars.
He's against Cougars. He's also Leo DiCaprio. He is the Ultraman that is he's in that that Steven Spielberg movie Catch Me If You Can.
Okay. Hypothetically, if you're going to make Leo stand out from Taro, how would you do it?
I don't know, make him a grown up, make him I don't know. Or make it dark, make him small.
But would they go dark after this one is
I
a
don't
slam dunk and
know.
it's the most goo goo gaga one of them yet?
I don't know. I would make Leo gay. First gay Ultraman.
I like how your suggestions are either Gento or Shuichido.
Yeah, yes. True. Either dad mode or he's gay.
Dad
those
mode
are the two.
asterisk.
Dad mode asterisk. Because he's got to be a regular guy as well. He can't. I need to stop thinking about the Ultraman. I need to think about the guy. How is he different from Kotaro? I think he should be maybe someone who's not involved in the team.
What if he's a bad boy? Like, what if he's like a biker guy?
He's a delinquent.
Wait,
Oh, you
no,
mean
they
like-
can't
you
do
mean like
that.
Hokuto,
They can't
right?
do that.
Like Hokuto.
Yeah, but also I don't think they'd ever do a biker guy because the people would be like, "You're copying."
You're copying.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they
Guy,
copied the Saurus.
Yeah. The Hokuto. Oh, I was in a biker gang. You know that? Shut up. You're dead now. I don't have to think about you. All right, we might be done here.
Yeah.
I think I'm out of speculation material.
We got a month till we seal it.
We got a while.
If I can do some housekeeping just real quick.
Oh, go for it. Oh yes.
Yes. First of all, 2 weeks from now we're doing the end of arc. My bad. I gotta watch those episodes.
Same.
Then the week after that is the penultimate episode of Taro, where I found out by accident last week they're actually watching one Guyver movie solved the extra episode problem, and then watching 2 Guyver movies introduced that problem. So we do have to do a batch of 4 somewhere. So we're doing it in the penultimate episode of Taro.
I don't think we should do it for that one because that's the one I'm going to be gone for.
That mean
because I have Frosty Fausti's coming up this.
Then I guess that's next
month.
week. Then for 4 episodes, it seems, because that's all we got.
Yeah, I would rather we do it now. So.
Okay.
Next week we will watch 4 episodes of Ultraman Taro.
Let me adjust the numbers then. Next week is 41 to 44, which I guess is easy because this episode's 40.
Mm-hmm.
So then what day are we recording the penultimate episode? 26th of January.
Okay, yeah, that's when I'm gone. So.
Okay.
I will be gone for the penultimate for tournament reasons, which I feel like has actually, weirdly enough, oddly specific, but happened before.
It sounds
where I was
right.
gone the second to last for tournament reasons.
Here's the thing. There have been multiple cases where one of you have been missing for the penultimate episode.
Yeah.
I think I'll have a return as well. And then for the
it's to build up. It's to charge our attack for the finale.
It'll be funny if that keeps happening.
Yeah.
I just need to keep going to tournaments.
Yeah. One of those days we're going to find up a situation where we do have to like do something to account for the fact that one of us might not be there for a week. We have a finale scheduled.
I would just delay it. Just delay a week.
Yeah.
It'll be.
I mean, the person who has to do the hard work on when that happens is you. So I don't have to worry about it.
Me breaking out the red band again.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're done. I need things to stop happening to me in order to be there for penultimate episodes of Ultraman. Do you know this morning my phone broke?
What?
Damn.
Yeah, I need that.
That sucks.
I need that for train tickets. I'm back at work on Tuesday.
Oh.
Uh-oh. Did that, like... What happened? Did it fall? Did it just not turn on? What?
It fell, and it was fine. It's not fine anymore.
Oh.
No, that sucks.
It's bad. It was already kind of like I was on the verge of needing a new one anyway. I say on the verge. I've needed a new one for like 2 years. I make phones last a long time.
That's me on my laptop, to be honest.
Yeah.
0 RAM on this baby.
God, yeah. Hell yeah. That's
I got this Christmas of 2018.
Oh wow, yeah. You're getting your money's worth. Well, someone else's money's worth. I
have hard drive permanently plugged into it, which is not good for the hard drive. But when I only have 120 gigs on this thing, I kind of need.
Well, yeah.
I got my phone shortly after returning from that West Coast Odyssey I went on, where
which translation did you use?
the best one.
Okay.
But my phone screen shattered when not really shattered, but it cracked pretty good when I face planted on some rocks in the waterfall area where actually Twin Peaks was filmed.
Nice.
Like the Twin Peaks waterfall.
Last year, around I think this weekend even, I went to go visit my at that time place of work, the supermarket, to see if I'd be scheduled. Found out I would not be scheduled, and turns out I wouldn't be scheduled from that point onwards. But also I dropped my phone in the parking lot, and like it had the glass back, and that's when I was like, well, I need a protector now because like the cracked glass is now exposed, and like, well, I need to cover this up. So that was fun. That wouldn't happen if I didn't even bother going. Because the place sucks.
Damn. Well, now that we've complained a bunch, goodbye. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at ultra_q. That is at ultra_QUEUE on Blue Sky. We are ultra QUEUE, no underscore on Blue Sky. Mel?
You can follow me at Dick Crowns on Twitter and Blue Sky. You can follow the email that you send things to. At
follow me emails.
And we have a coffee, AltQ Fund. Brad.
You can find me everywhere at Be Invoked. I don't feel like spelling today.
Alright. No spelling. This is a no spelling zone.
No. If you read, fuck you.
I finished burning Chrome this morning.
It turns out you should have read less.
Yeah.
And what did it get you?
What did it get me? It got me nothing.
This is now an anti-literacy podcast.
Well, you can listen to the show by genre now.
No reading. Oh, I could listen to
no
Shell
reading.
by genre. The thing is, I'm going to hold off on Shell by genre. I'm going to keep that in my back pocket because I have too many. I don't have time. I don't have time for that. At some point, I will. But at the moment, I don't have a phone to put things on and listen to them.
Time to break out the Zune.
I do not have one of those. That's not no. No, incorrect. Goodbye everyone. We will see you next week for 4 more episodes of Ultraman Taro.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Later.
父の星